But in Kashmir, 25 lakh Indians who have been living there and working there are being told you can't vote in the state because you're outsiders. This is akin to saying that all the people from Bihar and Uttar Pradesh living and working in Mumbai or Delhi should not be allowed to vote there. How can an Indian, viewers, be an outsider in India? For the first time since the abrogation of Article 370, the electoral polls of Kashmir have been updated to give a vote to all adults who reside in the Union Territory. To the existing 76 lakhs, now 25 lakh more voters have been added in the biggest leap towards Sabka Kashmir, Kashmir for all, the total integration of Kashmir with the rest of India. But many in the valley say Biharis and UP wale bhaiyas should not be allowed to vote. Listen in to this xenophobia, viewers.
से कहता हूं और मैं अपने साथियों को, सारी पार्टियों को कहूंगा कि इस सिस्टम को रोको, नहीं तो आपको ये जो यूपी और बिहार के लोग जो हैं ये खा जाएंगे। यहां क्राइम पहले ही बढ़ रहा है, रोज नया नया क्राइम मतलब वजूद में आ रहा है।
This is the last nail in the coffin of electoral democracy here. जम्मू कश्मीर एक लेबोरेटरी बन चुका है बीजेपी के लिए। यहाँ वो तजुर्बा करते हैं, उसके बाद बाहर जाके उसको अप्लाई करते हैं। और जितना भी जो भी कुछ जम्मू कश्मीर में हो रहा है, ये इस फसाद में हो रहा है कि हम जम्मू कश्मीर को मुख्य धारा का हिस्सा बनाना चाहते हैं, हम इसका इंटीग्रेशन करना चाहते हैं कंट्री के साथ।
We sincerely hope that the Chief Election Commissioner of Leh and Ladakh is working to establish free and fair elections in J&K rather than cementing or ensuring hike in number of voters for one particular party.
Viewers, one doesn't know what to say. What these xenophobes are essentially saying is that you, that is the rest of India, can come as tourists to our valley. You can live and work to boost the economy, pay your taxes, but you won't have a stake in how the state is run, managed, administered. Wow. They love our money, but won't be accountable to us. This xenophobia, this othering, this discrimination is not surprising. For far too long, under the guise of Article 370, Kashmiris in the valley got away with patently discriminatory rules that wouldn't have been entertained, tolerated anywhere else in the country. Now, here are some hard facts that bust this noxious xenophobic propaganda against a move, viewers, to update the electoral rolls that could be game-changing, that could breed inclusiveness in Kashmir. What is the first charge? The first charge that is being made is that outsiders are being brought in, imported by the BJP to vote for the BJP. What are the facts? Earlier, viewers, before the abrogation of 370, only residents prior to 1950 who were living there got a vote. So you may have moved in independent India after 1950 to Kashmir, but you would not have been allowed to vote. 5,764 Pakistani refugees, that are refugees that came from Pakistan, Hindu refugees, have been denied a vote for 75 years, viewers. The other big charge, Mehbooba Mufti makes this charge, that this is the last nail in the coffin of electoral democracy. Viewers, the fact is that across India, any Indian can vote where he lives. Migrant Kashmiris too can vote from other states. So why should the valley in Kashmir be an exception to the rule that is being followed all across this country? Think about that. The other big charge, 24 lakhs have been added to 76 lakhs existing ones, so that you can skew the population. The fact is, viewers, that annual population growth has gone up to 14 to 15%. There's no annual summary revision since 2019. Therefore, this is being done. The other charge is it's done to increase voters for one party. The fact is, viewers, that penal action will be taken for any wrong entry of data. 71,735 NRIs enrolled to vote in 2019 Lok Sabha polls. Were they only voting only? And were they only given the vote, viewers, to benefit the BJP? This is hilarious. The other charge is unacceptable to change electoral demography of the state. Viewers, 15,000 Marathi and 20,000 Gujarati voters are, in fact, viewers, in Varanasi South constituency in Uttar Pradesh. They are allowed to vote. How is this possible? How does this happen? The other charge is voters from Bihar and UP can't vote in Kashmir. The fact is, viewers, that 16 assembly seats in Delhi are dominated by UP Bihar migrants. They're allowed to vote. In Mumbai too, similar numbers. As I said, what is going on? What is going on? Is Kashmir only for the likes of Maliks, Abdullahs and Muftis, not for the Patnaiks of India, not for the Nayars of India, not for the Yadavs of India who want to go, live, work there, settle there, pay their taxes there, enrich the state, the coffers of the state, but can't vote? Because this is an attempt at othering, discrimination. And I want to open this up. I want to ask some basic questions. Sajjad Tariq, there are many Kashmiris. If you just go to Mumbai, there are many Kashmiris who live, work, who've got businesses in Mumbai. There are many also in Delhi. And many of them have enrolled as voters. Should they not be allowed to vote in the rest of India? Should Biharis and UP wala, as you call them, bhaiyas, who go to Mumbai, live there, pay their taxes there, contribute to the welfare of the state, they not be allowed to vote in those states where they've chosen to settle in? What is so underhand about an Indian voting in another part of India, if he lives there, if he chooses to live there? Why are you making the valley into an enclave of a few families? Why, sir?
Look, Rahul, I would like to say one thing, that first of all, we should know the situation of Kashmir. This is what we have been experimenting with Kashmir from last so many years, especially from last 2-3 years. Previously, it was said that by abrogation of Article 370, everything will go right. And I'll tell you, in last 70 years, the number of targeted killings which you will find in last 2-3 years, that too of my Kashmiri Pandit brothers, is the maximum, Now, second thing is this, that you cannot make it experimental lab, that you will keep on testing everything over it. You see, we changed the position of Kashmir and we abrogated Article 370, and there China took over the land. And nobody is questioning that, because the international status of the state was changed.
Tariq bhai.
Now, if we come to this, let me combine. Rahul ji, सुन लीजिए ना थोड़ा सा.
You know, this is
ये बात आप सुनिए. मैं आपसे कहना चाहता हूं. दूसरा ये कि आप J&K के लोगों को तो रहने की फैसिलिटीज प्रॉपर दे नहीं पा रहे हैं, जो ऑलरेडी वहां पे पिस रहे हैं. It is not a normal state right now also. We are facing terrorism, we are facing other things.
Sir, that is not the objection that is being raised.
And then
I'll tell you what the objection is. Can I, sir, please, you are taking me again on a joyride around the issue but not addressing the issue. अब ये देखिए, सज्जाद लोन पीपल्स कॉन्फ्रेंस, मेरी बात सुन लीजिए सर. देखिए, I'll only quote back what people, no one has raised all these issues. What are they saying is, this will be as disastrous as 1987 rigging. What will be? Giving the vote to people who have been paying their taxes, sir, who have been working for the welfare of Kashmir. It's the last nail in the coffin of electoral democracy, bid to influence poll results and disempower locals. आपको सर बिहारियों, यूपी वालों, मराठी पीपल, उड़िया पीपल, उनसे आपको इतनी चिढ़ क्यों है? वो आपके भाई लोग नहीं है, आपकी बहनें नहीं है वो, या आप उनको देख के यू लुक एट देम एज एजेंट्स ऑफ द बीजेपी? क्या आप सर, मैं आपसे पूछना चाह रहा हूं, और मैं उमर अब्दुल्ला साहब से भी पूछना चाह रहा हूं, जिनके बच्चे दिल्ली में पढ़ते हैं, जो खुद दिल्ली आके रहते भी हैं, कि क्या उन लोगों को जब वो बड़े हो जाएंगे भारत में कहीं और रहने की इजाजत नहीं देनी चाहिए और वोटिंग करने की इजाजत नहीं देनी चाहिए? ये कैसे हो सकता है? कैन यू एक्सप्लेन दिस टू मी, तारिक साहब? दैट्स ऑल आई एम आस्किंग. हाउ इज दिस एन असॉल्ट ऑन डेमोक्रेसी? दिस इज एनरिचिंग डेमोक्रेसी.
Let me say something. If you go to Himachal, in Himachal you have domicile. In many of the states, especially tourist states, जहाँ पे tourists बहुत ज़्यादा हैं, local tourism को promote, leaving aside militancy and terrorism also if we discuss, तो local लोगों को promote करने के लिए there is a domicile. Now the second point is this: आप किसी भी state
अरे sir, there might be a domicile, but it doesn't disempower others from living there and voting there.
राहुल जी,
आप क्या बोल रहे हैं?
आप, मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ वो सुनिए. आज अगर दिल्ली में 25 lakh voters means that 40% population of the state.
Delhi, do you know how many people live in Delhi?
Listen to me.
No, do you know how many people even live in Delhi, sir?
Let me compile. आज दिल्ली NCR की population अगर
Tariq bhai, please, you are talking out of your hat, sir. Please don't insult our intelligence and the intelligence of you. आप बोल क्या रहे हैं?
राहुल, आप बोलने देंगे मुझे? अगर आप नहीं बोलने देंगे तो then what is, मैं क्या, मतलब मेरा वही पॉइंट तो मुझे,
आप सवाल का जवाब नहीं दे रहे हैं, पता नहीं क्या लैटरल आप
आपको जवाब ही दे रहा हूं.
चलिए,
आज आप
प्लीज रिस्पॉन्ड.
एनी स्टेट एंड एनी पॉपुलेशन ऑफ द स्टेट, लेट्स टॉक, अगर आप दिल्ली की बात करें, इफ द पॉपुलेशन इज 1 CR टू दिल्ली NCR की अगर 3 CR पॉपुलेशन है, आप आज 1.5 करोड़ वोटर्स वन गो में ऐड कर सकते हैं? नोबडी विल अलाउ. देयर विल बी अ सोशल रिवोल्ट ओवर इट.
रियली? Sajjad Tariq, have you been to our border areas? Have you been to Assam? Have you been to Assam? Have you been to West Bengal? वहां तो सर खुशहाली है, वहां तो enrichment of democracy हो रही है. वहां पर तो TMC वाले और कांग्रेस वाले, आपके ही पार्टी वाले हमें बताते हैं कि this is an inclusive state.
मैं कह रहा हूं हिमाचल में भी
people have been given electoral cards who are not even citizens of this country. Why? Because you want to show how large-hearted we are as a democracy, and in Kashmir you're closing your hearts. Okay, nonetheless, let me open this up. ठीक है, आपका point मैं समझ गया कि you will not allow anyone to come in a huge. Sir, these people have not come in overnight. They have been living in your state. The electoral rolls have only been updated. That's all. They have been living there. आंखें खोल के थोड़ा देख लीजिए. फिलहाल आप लोग उनको भगाना चाह रहे हैं, गोलियां मार रहे हैं उनको. थोड़ा उनको embrace भी कीजिए.
I take great offense to it.
No.
हमने
It's a fact.
गोली मारी है ना, हम किसी को भगाने के उसमें हैं.
अरे साहब,
don't use these words.
You tell me, Sajjad Tariq, did you go out? Did you know? I'll ask you then. Let me ask you a question. Sajjad Tariq, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, Sajjad Tariq. Let me ask you a question.
पहले आप
Will you condemn? सर, मैं ले लेता हूं, चलो जवाब अपना सारा कुछ वापस. मैं आपसे एक सवाल पूछूंगा, उसका आप जवाब दीजिए और ऑनेस्ट जवाब दीजिए, ठीक है? नहीं, देखिए भाईचारा, देखिए, डोंट टेल मी अबाउट भाईचारा. आई एम वन ऑफ योर भाई सिटिंग हु शुड बी लिविंग इन योर स्टेट, सिटिंग आउटसाइड योर स्टेट, बिकॉज यू नेवर केम टू हेल्प मी. व्हाट नॉनसेंस आर यू टॉकिंग?
सुनिए मेरी बात राहुल जी.
डोंट गिव मी दिस हॉगवॉश, ओके? डिड यू लाइट अ कैंडल फॉर मी? डिड यू? Will you?
सुनिए मेरी बात.
नहीं, आप, मैं सुना नहीं आपकी बात, सर. I don't want to listen to your garbage.
जो भी बात करनी पड़ेगी.
Wait a minute. Let me bring in Dr. Ranganathan. Let me bring in General Bakshi. Let me bring in Tehseen Poonawala and apni party spokesperson Mr. Kashani. Dr. Ranganathan, what do you make of this? I think it's xenophobia.
Rahul, to be honest, good evening to you, but listening to the previous panelists is the biggest test of ahimsa. Even though I am present digitally, I still feel the requirement for a straitjacket. ये कैसी भाषा है, ये कैसा लॉजिक है, और look at the xenophobia on display. Bihari, UP वाले भैया, what is this? Honestly, yours is a family channel, but मैं भी दिल्ली से हूँ, मैं भी बहुत सारे words use करता हूँ, but मैं इतना ही कहूँगा कि आप कश्मीरी कोई स्पेशल नहीं है, अपने आप को पता नहीं जो समझ रखा है. You are as special as the rest of us. You understand? और ये जो आप कहते रहते हैं ना, हिंदुस्तान किसी के बाप का थोड़ी ना है, ये कश्मीर भी किसी के बाप का नहीं है, और कश्मीर किसी के बाप के बच्चों का भी नहीं है.
ना मैंने ये
Get this in your head.
सुनिए मेरी बात.
And number 2,
दूसरे पैनलिस्ट की बात,
Kashmir belongs to all of us, and all of us can register to vote there, like all of us can register to vote in any state. तो ये अपनी बकवास बंद रखिए. Rahul, as I've said before, unfortunately, Kashmir has been turned into a snakes and ladders game. The ladders are provided by Pakistan and the snakes by Indians. और ये panels पे भी आ जाते हैं काफी snakes. I say Indians, but I wonder if these people think of themselves as Indians. Their first allegiance is to religion, second to Pakistan, third to China, fourth to dynasty. It is a fact, Rahul, that Hyderabad could so easily have been what Kashmir is today. And fools in the media would be writing column yards on its struggle, but for one man, Sardar Patel. And Kashmir could so easily have been what Hyderabad is today, but for two men, Nehru and Sheikh Abdullah. They set the board down for the snakes and ladder game, which their progenies have been playing ever since, making sure Kashmir's bubbling and ever-present communal bigotry, ethnic cleansing, terrorism, and religious fanaticism don't enter the India narrative. They talk of human and religious rights, but when have you heard them speak on the atrocities committed by Pakistan against Ahmadiyas or Baluchs? Leave aside the Hindu and Christian minorities. When have you heard them speak out against China that has interned more than 1 million Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps and is feeding them pork? Tab wo Muslims nahi rehte. When have you heard them speak out against the brutal trampling of human rights of lakhs of Dalits, Gurkhas, women, Sikhs, refugees, homosexuals in Kashmir because of 370 and 35A? But I'll tell you when they do speak out, when their power and authority are threatened, like when Sheikh Abdullah spoke out and I quote, self-determination is our right. Countries that do not support it are our enemies. Or when Farooq Abdullah spoke out and I quote, they want to abolish 370 and we will remain silent. Inshallah, we will fight. We dare them. Allah would want that we gain independence from India. Quote unquote. And when it comes to one particular dynasty, you showed the clip of that, Miss Mehbooba Mufti. Rahul, one would be hard-pressed to find a bigger hypocrite or a bigot. From choosing a rape accused as an election candidate to threatening rivers of blood if 370 was abrogated, to shedding tears and mourn the death of terrorist Wani, to saying flags other than the tricolor will fly, to threatening sedition of saying, quote, why would a Muslim majority state want to stay with India, unquote, to wanting to introduce punishment according to Sharia law in Kashmir and death by stoning. Mehbooba Mufti has scaled all methane-spewing landfill summits. The only people objecting to this decision are these bigoted Islamic dynasts because this threatens their ability to control Kashmir. Kashmir किसी के बाप का नहीं है. ध्यान में रखना ये बात.
Well, it's a very important, 1 second moment.
मुझे 2 मिनट देंगे आप?
1 मिनट सर, प्लीज. कशानी साहब को भी बोलने दीजिए. उन्होंने भी थोड़ा टाइम निकाला है. जनरल बख्शी साहब ने भी, तहसीन साहब ने भी. तहसीन साहब, मैं आपसे एक सवाल पूछ रहा हूं. Let me ask you a question. It's a very straightforward question tonight. Rahul Gandhi says that he comes from a Kashmiri family. He invoked his Kashmiri origins. Sorry?
Kashmiri Pandit family.
Yes, Kashmiri Pandit. You want to make that distinction also? It's okay.
No, I'm just making it clear. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, sir. Please. Kashmiris are Kashmiris. Okay.
That's
Maybe
true.
in your book, there are Hindus and Muslims and there are Pandits and there are Muslims. But for me, I come from Kashmir. At least half my family does. I don't make those distinctions. Okay, you do. Great for you, sir.
I'm not making distinction.
You're just exposing the Congress's mindset. It's fair enough. That's okay. He's a Pandit. Let's call him a Pandit. He's not a Kashmiri, he's a Pandit first, viewers. Please.
No, he's a Kashmiri.
I've offended him. He's a Brahmin.
Rahul, can you come to the point?
Big Brahmin.
You have me on the
Okay,
show. Let's come
fine.
to the show.
Let's move to the next question.
Yeah, thank you.
Where does he cast his vote?
Delhi.
Delhi. Now, viewers, this is amazing. A Kashmiri Pandit, by this logic, should not be allowed to cast his vote in Delhi. Where does he contest from? Uttar Pradesh, and now, of course, he has gone and sought out the southernmost tip of India, Kerala. Look at the motility, viewers, in this country. We are free. As larks, we can go from the top to the bottom, east to the west. This is the beauty. We are not China. We're not Pakistan, where you need passes. Viewers, this is the beauty of our land. You can set up shop, you can live, you can eat, Tehseen Poonawalla, anywhere. Do you think Rahul Gandhi should not be allowed to vote in Delhi? Do you think people from Bihar and Uttar Pradesh should not be allowed to vote in Delhi if they live in Delhi? Mr. Poonawalla, can I ask you this question? Can you put your hand on your heart and give me an honest answer and say that if you are speaking up against the right to live, reside in Kashmir but not vote there, you will apply the same yardstick in other parts of this country? Mr. Poonawalla, go ahead.
Good evening, Rahul. Thank you for having me on the show. Good evening to all my fellow panelists, to all your viewers. And I want to thank General Bakshi for his service at the onset. It's because of people like him that we are safe, and he served in Jammu and Kashmir. There are 3 points that I want to make basically, and I hope you had a long question. I'm not interrupted. I'm going to make those 1 points. Dr. Anand, you answer me later on, but I'm specifically taking your name and I want to rebut you on one thing. You please correct me after I finish. The author of Article 370 was not Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Had it not been for Sardar Patel, we would not have had Article 370. It is Sardar Patel who framed Article 370. The meetings were held in his house with Sheikh Abdullah, and Pandit Nehru was kept updated on it. Not just that, 370 was also defended by Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. That is the history. Let's not fall for what is not history. I don't want to go into the past. Rahul, you raised 2 very pertinent questions. Anand, you can rebut me later. You raised 2 very pertinent questions about the voting. I, for one, though I'm opposed to Prime Minister Modi politically, I did support the abrogation of Article 370. As Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru said, that this article will eventually be watered down, and it was watered down, but I don't agree the way the Prime Minister did it. However, when we're talking about the Constitution of India that now applies in the state of Jammu, in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, as it applies in various other parts, anyone on this panel is free to read out Article 371A to J. Is Jammu and Kashmir the only union territory that has autonomy, or did other parts of India have? Point number 1. Point number 2. Now, please allow me, and I'll finish here, to read out Article 371A and G together, because their wordings are exactly the same. Article 371A and G says that the Parliament of India cannot decide the consent without the consent of the State Legislative Assembly on matters of religious, social practices of the Nagas or Mizos, civil and criminal law, land ownership, transfer, and customary practices. As the Congress spokesperson before me said, in Himachal, you cannot buy agricultural land. Various states, even in the state of Gujarat.
We're talking about all these things. We are talking about the right to vote.
You are not allowed to vote.
And secondly, let me tell you, viewers, let me tell you, one second. Anyone who has read, one second, please.
No, sir. I demand my time. I don't cede time. In the state of Mizoram, in the state of Nagaland, if Rahul Shiv Shankar goes and settles there, he is not allowed to vote. It is protected by Article 371A and G.
Sir,
should it go? I am in favor of it. Ask Modi ji to remove it.
Of course it should.
Remove it.
Of
but
course
Modi
it
ji
should.
never questioned.
Of course
That's
it should.
the problem.
Of course it should.
Of Modi ji comes
one second. Tehseen Poonawalla.
One minute.
I welcome the abrogation of Article 370. And let me
more line.
No, 1 second. On a matter of fact, so that a large number of young people watching this show are not misled. Let me tell you, sir, if you have read a book by C.D. Dasgupta.
Yes.
Okay, have you read that book? You should read it. It was on Kashmir. Okay? One of the greatest expositions. Let me finish, sir. Please, I beg you, sir, let me finish. The author of Article 370, sir, in the first cabinet of this country, was a man called Iyengar, N. Gopalaswamy Iyengar. So please get your facts right. He was in charge of... Let me finish.
Okay.
He was in charge of Kashmir affairs. Yes, the entire cabinet approved it. But also remember, the constitution stipulated that it needs to be scrapped after a certain point in time. So there was agreement.
And please allow me to answer. Anand, please, I'll let you come in. I don't see space. Anand, I don't see it. I don't see it. No, I don't see it. I want to answer because I will not allow. Yes, I completely agree on that fact.
Then why were you spreading false facts?
You have to allow me to speak. You have to allow me to speak. I don't
sir,
please allow me to speak. Yes, I am speaking the truth. You fact check me. All meetings for 370 happened at Sardar Patel's house where Sheikh Abdullah came. Sardar Patel, please allow me to finish. Sardar Patel was in favor of 370. Not just that, Shama Prasad Mukherjee and the entire cabinet supported it. Now, I'm not going to history. I'm coming down to one thing. You made a very interesting point, Rahul, and I agree to that point, and I see to that point. We are not China. We are not Pakistan. We don't require visas to travel here and there in India, except Amit Shahji, when he was bringing the CAA law, which I think is illegal and I've challenged the Supreme Court, brought inline permits for these northeastern states that you, Rahul, that you, Anand, that my two fellow panelists from Jammu and Kashmir cannot go and settle down in those northeastern states.
Mr.
Now, I am asking you, why is Mr. Modi such a hypocrite? Why doesn't he also advocate 371?
Yes.
I am in favor of 370 questions.
You can ask those
because
questions.
Because the man is a hypocrite.
1 second.
He wants to polarize the country by experimenting in Kashmir.
Okay, Mr. Poonawalla, for you, Kashmir is an experimentation ground.
Not for me, for
what
Mr. Modi.
Mr. Nehru did was the greatest experiment. He took the entire issue to the United Nations, where we have been bogged down for the rest of our lives. But you will not fall out. One second.
On whose advice did he take it?
Mr. Poonawalla, you have to allow me to also finish. Now,
sure, but you should also allow me to answer.
You have come here with an agenda, that's fine.
I don't have an agenda.
Let me finish.
I have facts.
Okay, sir. If you had facts, you wouldn't have got the most basic one wrong. Nonetheless.
I got everything correct, and please allow me.
Sir, please.
Okay, after you. After you.
Please, just 30 seconds. General G.D. Bakshi is also there, and I don't have time for everybody, so please. I just want to make 2 points. Viewers, we are all agreed here on this panel, at least the 3 patriots here. I don't know about the rest, that 370, 371, excuse me.
Am I not a patriot? I am for 370
need to be scrapped, okay?
The Constitution.
Who said you aren't one of the
Constitution. Did I say that you were not? Did I say that you were not? I never said
that. Who are the three?
Listen to me. Listen to me. 1 second. Give me 30 seconds.
What is patriotism of
Mr. Poonawalla, 1 second, Tariq Saab. 1 second. 1 second. Mr. Kashani. Okay. Look, I have come with an agenda. Okay, I have come with an agenda. I have come with the agenda. I am very honest about my agenda. I want the full emotional, psychological integration of Kashmir with India. That's my agenda. You can fault me for my agenda. You can attack me from my agenda. I'll take it on my chest. I have an agenda. Maybe Tehseen, you don't. Great for you. I have it. And I'm speaking it here, making it very public. General Bakshi, everyone can talk about Article 370, this 70, that you can't buy land here, you can't live there, you can't do this there. That's fair enough. But here in Kashmir today, Article 370 is gone. And what we are getting from the people there is a discriminatory attitude against any other Indian from coming and staying there, living there, earning their bread there, and getting the right to vote there. Why do you think this is the case, General Saab?
Rahul, because now we are delving into history and the innards of history really. Let me give you a very interesting historical fact. Sheikh Abdullah, the self-confessed Prime Minister then of Jammu and Kashmir, he went to Nehru and asked for, these constitutional assurances, and Nehru dutifully sent him to the Law Minister. And the Law Minister? Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. So Abdullah went and presented his case for all these special provisions. Patiently, Bhimrao Ambedkar, a terrific lawyer, incisive legal mind, heard him out. And do you know what he said? He said, Sheikh Saab, you want India, the citizens of India, to pay for your roads, your schools, your hospitals, your facilities, everything. and in return you want them not to have any rights there. This is treachery. And I, as the law minister, will never do it. He went crying back to Nehru, who sent him to the aforementioned Gopal Swami Iyengar, who dutifully, to please his master, complied. And we were hoist with this petard for the last 75 years, more or less.
Yes.
73.
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is, Rahul, one of the best and clear-sighted decisions ever taken by the government of India has been the abrogation or the nullification of this Article 370 and 35A, which were a blot upon the Constitution. They were temporary provisions. They should have gone long back, thrown out of the window.
Tell me what
because
has been
they created an ambiguity which allowed hostile forces.
Have a threat that the voting percentage will still be low?
I think I heard you very patiently. Sir, I heard you
attempt to
with
disempower the population. This is complete attempt
Can you show the same
create a more trust deficit and more disbelief in the democratic setup.
Empower, sir.
You don't give us lectures.
Can you, sir, stop heckling?
This is an attempt to disempower the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Are they so scared to win in Jammu and Kashmir, to win the hearts of Jammu and Kashmir?
Why are you getting so upset on hearing the other argument? Are you so hollow?
If a voter is, if there is eligibility, let him have the domicile first.
Rahul, this is just
let the voter have domicile.
What do you do, sir?
This is just
what do you do,
sir?
What do you do?
I heard you with patience. Give me the same courtesy. Then I would like to hear you.
I didn't get any voting rights.
I can't hear you right now. Okay, sir. I have also suffered. By the way, I am from Jammu. You understand? I was born in Jammu.
The BJP has failed
I
to
was
win
born
the
in
hearts
Jammu.
of people. That is why
and I know the way, the stepmotherly treatment that Jammu got from the valley. The valley leaders.
There is no logic behind this.
I know how land was being purchased there to change the demographic profile.
There is no
You want me
logic
to tell you the truth?
How are they
You just have it your way.
How many
because you are on
years
the accusing side always.
In Jammu and Kashmir.
What did you do to the people of Jammu?
This is a confusion. There's a confusion among the people, and rather to win
their
the heart of
demographic hold on the state, on their own state.
More
Why
towards
did
the
you
war?
get the Rohingyas there? Why
This
did
is
you
an attempt to disempower. Understand that. Nobody is getting empowered.
Traditional smugglers, gun runners, cattle runners. You want to settle them?
The only state you found in India on every debate.
Step in. Let me step in. Let me step in. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Silence, everybody. Let me just step in. General Saab, don't get baited. Don't get baited. Don't get baited. General Saab, don't get baited. Don't get baited by these gentlemen. 1 second. Let me ask. Let me ask, because some people said, who are the patriots on this panel? Let's do the patriot test. Let me ask everyone a question. Yes, no. General Bakshi, is Burhan Wani an Islamist terrorist? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Okay.
110%.
Okay. Dr. Ranganathan, is Burhan Wani an Islamist terrorist? Yes or no?
Absolutely yes.
Tehseen Poonawala, is he an Islamist terrorist? Yes or no?
An Islamic jihadi terrorist who BJP gave 4 lakh rupees to.
Mr. Kashani, is Wani an Islamist terrorist? Yes or no?
He paid what he had told for. Yes, I mean that is not Islam. That is not Islam.
Tariq Saab,
what he did
is he an Islamist terrorist? Yes or no?
Oh my God.
This is not Islam.
Tariq Saab, boliye. Was he an Islamist terrorist? Yes or no? Burhan Wani.
Rahul, one thing I failed
yes
to
or no?
Why don't you call terrorist a
viewers,
terrorist? What do you mean by that, Islamic terrorist?
there you go.
What do you mean by that?
There you go.
What do you mean by that?
There you go.
Rahul, I need
there you go. Viewers, I need to close this debate. I need to close this debate immediately because it's quite clear where these individuals are coming from. There is no recognition of the facts. One person misleads us, the other person lies to us, the third person is xenophobic. Openly so. Where can there be a common thread? I don't know, viewers. I can't find it. There is a big problem. There is a big problem. The state, the Indian state, must not back down. in the face of this xenophobia. That right to vote must be protected, secured. I leave it at that, viewers. I leave it at that, because we move on tonight to a very big story. The trauma of the past 20 years has washed over me again. These are the words, viewers, of Bilkis Bano. 2 days after 11 rapists and murderers were released, Bilkis Bano, who was just 21, when the marauders, when her violators unleashed havoc, is once again forced to relive the pain. The pain of being brutally gang raped when she was 5 months pregnant. The pain of seeing her three-year-old daughter being murdered by one of those now roaming free. Her own mother raped and brutalized. The pain of watching in horror as 7 members of her family were butchered by those blinded by hate. 20 years later, the fear is back to haunt Bilkis and her family. In a heart-wrenching statement, she now pleads for a right to live in peace without fear. Viewers, she has come out and said that her faith in justice is shaken. I trusted the system. Every rape and murder convict needs to face justice. It is non-application of mind on grossness of the crime. Trauma of the past washed over me again. Give me back my right to live without fear. Viewers, these are some of the sentiments that she has penned. Her husband Yaqub says our pain and fear is now increased. Her lawyer says every rape and murder convict will now seek remission. It is non-application of mind on grossness of the crime. Viewers, what happened here? One of the convicted moved a plea in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court entertains the plea. The plea was for remission of sentence. As you know, the life term is interpreted differently in different parts of this country. It could be 14 years, 21 years, or then it could be right up till your dying last breath. Viewers, because the Supreme Court entertained this plea and said to the state to set up a panel, the panel very quickly came out, and not only did it give remission to that one person, but all the other 10 convicted of this despicable act. 11 lifers now are free, and they were garlanded by the VHP. Quite clearly, viewers, there is outrage. Listen in to the reactions that have been coming on this turn of events, which is very unfortunate. Listen to these reactions, viewers.
तो उस रेमिशन पॉलिसी की रिव्यू कमेटी में कौन था? एक का नाम था जनाब मुलचंदानी साहब, जो गोधरा के राइट्स में वो एक प्रोसिक्यूशन के विटनेस थे, और दूसरे उसमें भाजपा के 2 MLA थे. तो आप इनसे इंसाफ की कैसे उम्मीद रखते हैं रिव्यू कमेटी की?
We shouldn't have any well-wishers like Mr. Modi for women, because if this is what he does when he wishes well for ladies, can you imagine what will happen if he wishes bad? Remove this BJP 2 MLAs from their party. And Mr. Modi should dismiss them, but he will not do it. He will never do it, because for them this was an election-winning strategy.
Viewers, what to make of this? The Supreme Court, if the state doesn't rectify this, the state government of Gujarat doesn't rectify this, then the Supreme Court must immediately step in. I want to open this up, and I want to begin with Vinod Bansal, national spokesperson of the VHP, Advocate Rishi Malhotra, lawyer of the convicts, Tehseen Poonawala is there with us. Dr. Ranganathan is also part of this panel. Questions need to be asked. Vinod Bansal Saab, you can argue that the panel was set up on the direction of the Supreme Court, that the panel interpreted the law rightly or wrongly, but gave these people remission, remitted their sentences, released them. But sir, why did the VHP garland these people? ये हीरोज कैसे बन गए? कॉन्विक्स हीरोज कैसे बन जाते हैं? कॉन्विक्स जिन्होंने बलात्कार किया, रेप किया, जिन्होंने एक मासूम बच्ची की हत्या की, कई और लोगों को मारा, how do these convicts become heroes? Can you explain this to me?
राहुल जी, सबसे पहले तो मैं प्रश्न पूछना चाहूंगा कि आपके प्रश्न का जवाब देने से पहले कि टाइम्स नाउ को ये कैसे पता लगा कि विश्व हिंदू परिषद ने उसको गार्लैंड किया था और विश्व हिंदू परिषद ने मिठाइयां खिलाई थी? और एक बात, दूसरी बात ये कि आप मुझे बताइए कि ये कन्विक्ट जिसको कन्विक्शन हो गया, कोर्ट ने सजा दे दी, सजा प्राप्त करने के बाद में वो व्यक्ति उसी सुप्रीम कोर्ट के कहने पर बाहर आया और आफ्टर फॉलोइंग द ड्यू प्रोसेस ऑफ द लॉ, तो उसके बावजूद भी क्या वो अपराधी जिंदगी भर अपराधी रहेगा क्या? क्या वो जो अगर किसी ने कोई पाप किया था वो जिंदगी भर पापी रहेगा क्या? तीसरी बात ये बड़ी महत्वपूर्ण है,
वो हीरो तो नहीं बनेगा ना?
नहीं, मैं कहता हूँ हीरो नहीं, बात हीरो,
वो हीरो तो नहीं बनेगा ना?
राहुल जी, मेरी बात का जवाब सुनेंगे जरा? Should I tell you something?
No, you please tell me, but I'm asking you. Okay, fine. They have a second opportunity to live a life. I understand that, but do they become heroes in the eyes of the public? And I want to ask you: is Arvind Sisodia a member of the VHP? Yes or no?
No, मेरी बात पूरी नहीं हुई actually. Rahul ji, let me complete my statement.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
हाँ, मैं कह रहा हूँ, देखिए, अगर कोई व्यक्ति जेल से बाहर आता है और इतने सालों के बाद आता है, तो उसके परिजन, उसके मित्र रिश्तेदार, उसके पड़ोसी अगर उसको स्वागत करते हैं, अगर उसको मिठाई खिलाते हैं, तो उसमें कौन सा पाप किया भाई? कौन सा अपराध किया? ये मुझे बताइए। समाज को या व्यक्ति को या परिवार को क्या कोई खुशी मनाने से भी कोई रोकेगा क्या?
सर, ये VHP के ऑफिस में ये हुआ या नहीं हुआ? मैं आपसे एक छोटा सवाल पूछ रहा हूं, ये VHP के ऑफिस में हुआ, कार्यालय में हुआ गार्लैंडिंग सेरेमनी? यस नो? वेलकम VHP के ऑफिस में हुआ या नहीं हुआ सर?
राहुल जी, मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूं कि आपके पास क्या प्रूफ है कि VHP के ऑफिस में हुआ? मैं चैलेंज के साथ कहता हूं कि VHP के ऑफिस में अगर आप ये कह रहे हैं,
अरविंद सिसोदिया आपके मेंबर नहीं है VHP के? VHP के मेंबर नहीं है अरविंद सिसोदिया साहब?
नहीं, मैं नहीं जानता उनको कौन अरविंद सिसोदिया साहब कौन है, लेकिन क्वेश्चन ये कि आपके पास ये प्रूफ कहां से आया कि VHP के मेंबर हैं? मुझे बड़ा ताज्जुब हो रहा है।
ओके,
आप बताइए, देखिए, जिस मातृ शक्ति के लिए विश्व हिंदू परिषद लड़ रहा है, हम तो उन मातृ शक्ति को बचाने की बात कर रहे हैं।
तो फिर मैं आपसे एक सवाल पूछता हूं,
लेकिन मैं
क्या उनका, तो ठीक है, मैं आपसे एक सवाल पूछता हूं, मैं आपको अभी जवाब दूंगा, मैं आपको जवाब दूंगा। एक मिनट
पहले आपको ये
बंसल साहब, एक मिनट, एक सेकेंड
विश्व हिंदू परिषद को हर जगह घसीटना ठीक बात नहीं है।
ओके,
जब जो है 59 कार सेवकों को जिंदा जलाया गया था, उस समय कोई नहीं बोला, और उस समय माँ बहन की इज्जत की बात नहीं आई। जब मासूम बच्चों
बंसल साहब 1 मिनट, 1 सेकेंड, देखिए, आप डाइवर्ट कर रहे हैं इशू।
नो, मैं डाइवर्ट नहीं कर रहा।
आप सुनिए तो सही, आप मेरी बात तो सुनिए प्लीज। गिव मी 30 seconds.
Okay.
This channel has been one of the first and few channels who has advocated for justice for the people who were burnt in the train bogie also. Okay? So I don't need any certificates of fairness from anybody. No, 1 second. Secondly, मैंने आपको रोका नहीं, आपकी बात बोली, आपने बोला ठीक है, हमारे ऑफिस में नहीं थे, हमारा मेंबर भी नहीं था, ये कोई थे, हमारे कोई लगते नहीं है, ठीक है?
नहीं, मैंने ये नहीं कहा, मैं कहना चाहता हूं टाइम्स नाउ ने विश्व हिंदू परिषद का नाम किस रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी के साथ लिया? आप कह रहे हैं कि हम फेक न्यूज नहीं फैलाते।
तमाम हमारे जो रिपोर्टर्स हैं, उन्होंने जो रिपोर्ट भेजी हैं, तमाम मीडिया यही कह रही है, अब सब गलत हैं, तो सर इत्तेफाक होगा ऑफ मॉन्यूमेंटल प्रोपोर्शंस, सभी मीडिया आपके खिलाफ होंगे। चलिए सर, ये अगर आपका कहना है तो ठीक है, ये आपका कहना है तो ठीक है सर।
राहुल जी, दो बातें बड़ी महत्वपूर्ण हैं।
1 सेकेंड,
चुनिंदा 2 न्यूज चैनल, 2 इंग्लिश चैनलों के अलावा किसी ने ये फेक प्रोपेगेंडा नहीं चलाया। I'm sorry to say like this.
Okay, fine. Let me ask you, do these gentlemen deserve remission? Yes or no? Does
it has
this
to be decided by the court, neither you nor me.
Okay, decided by the court. No, it was decided by a state panel which had 2 members of the BJP, 2 MLAs.
Not at all. No.
Of course it did. Don't deny everything here. Okay, let me, no, 1 second. Let me tell you, no, 1 minute. Let's put out the names. Let's put out the names. 1 second. Sujal Mayatra, 1 second. He is Godhra collector and DM, chairman of the committee. CJ Rahulji, BJP MLA. Suman Chauhan, BJP MLA. Murli Mulchandani, former Godhra municipal councillor from BJP. Sneha Bhatia, BJP women's wing worker.
तो गवर्नमेंट तो बीजेपी की है, उसको हटा दो आप।
तो बहुत कन्वीनियंट हो गया ना, लोग कहेंगे।
नहीं, बात कन्वीनियंट की नहीं है।
ठीक है, लेट मी ओपन दिस अप। मैं अपनी बात नहीं रखूंगा, लेट्स लिसन। ठीक है, आपने अपनी बात रखी है, लेट मी गेट द रिस्पॉन्सेज फ्रॉम अदर साइड आल्सो, फ्रॉम ऑल साइड्स। मेरी बात तो सुनिए, लेट्स गेट द रिस्पॉन्स, लेट्स गेट द रिस्पॉन्स
और सजा दिलाने का।
लेट्स गेट द रिस्पॉन्स। मिस्टर संजय हेगड़े इज देयर, ही इज अ लॉयर। मिस्टर हेगड़े, वुड यू लाइक टू रिस्पॉन्ड टू मिस्टर बंसल? व्हाट्स द बिग डील? Due process, the law has been followed in letter. Forget about the spirit. Please respond, sir.
Well, the first thing is that the Supreme Court, please don't drag it in unnecessarily. There was a petition in the Supreme Court by Rishi Malhotra for one of the accused, saying that, look, I have spent 15 years. Please ask the state to consider my remission. The Supreme Court judgment decided only 2 things. First is that the remission policy of 1992 would apply. And secondly, it said, please consider it. Now, when the court says consider it, it does not mean grant it. Any policy of remission also has to take into account what would be the social impact, what would be the message.
What a logic.
And
the Supreme Court is not competent enough to judge the social impact of the decision.
Well, sir, I'm sorry. I practice in the Supreme Court. I think that the Supreme Court has powers to at least interpret the Constitution. And while we are at it, it's like me saying that you don't speak for all Hindus. How are you?
No.
Vishwa Hindu
Parishad. But you cannot allegate the honorable Supreme Court of the country.
Bansal Saab, please don't speak over Hegde Saab. 1 minute, and let me go across to our reporter who is joining us live, and I'm going to bring him in. Can I ask you a small question? आप बता सकते हैं कि ये जो फेलिसिटेशन सेरेमनी हुई कहां पर हुई? क्या ये VHP ऑफिस में हुई, कार्यालय में हुई या नहीं हुई?
देखिए सर, ये जो पूरा मामला है ये विश्व हिंदू परिषद का जो कार्यालय है वहां पे किया गया था। जैसे ही ये विशेष तौर से राधे श्याम शाह नाम के जो मुख्य एक्यूज जिन्होंने पिटीशन की थी सुप्रीम कोर्ट में, उनका स्वागत समारोह जो है वो विश्व हिंदू परिषद के कार्यालय में किया गया था। विश्व हिंदू परिषद के कार्यकर्ता वहां पर जो प्रदेश के माफ करिएगा वहां के जो गोधरा के जो कार्यकर्ता हैं वो वहां पर मौजूद थे। उनके द्वारा हारपोल किया गया, स्वागत कराया गया, मिठाई खिलाई गई और ये पूरा जो कार्यक्रम है वो विश्व हिंदू परिषद का जो गोधरा का कार्यालय वहां पे ही किया गया था। जी,
तो विनोद बंसल साहब कह रहे हैं कि हम गलत फेक न्यूज का प्रचार कर रहे हैं, आप उनको कैसे जवाब देंगे आज?
देखिए ये पूरा मामला है और स्वयं जो इस मामले के ये जो 11 जो जितने भी लोग छूटे हैं वो 11 के 11 लोगों को गोधरा से अभी हटा दिया गया है। उनमें से कोई भी व्यक्ति गोधरा के अंदर मौजूद नहीं है। साथ ही साथ जो ये राधे श्याम जी ने जो इंटरव्यू दिया था, जो गुजराती में उन्होंने कहा था, वो भी वहां पर मौजूद नहीं है जिन्होंने पिटीशन की थी। दूसरी बात, ये जो आरोप विश्व हिंदू परिषद की तरफ से लगाया जा रहा है वो बिल्कुल गलत है और स्वयं विश्व हिंदू परिषद के जो नेता हैं वहां पर मौजूद थे, उनके द्वारा ही ये स्वागत किया गया था और उसकी पुष्टि भी हुई है और स्वयं उनके कार्यालय में हुआ है, जिसके फोटोग्राफ सामने आए हैं। राधे श्याम की मोबाइल बाइट जो है वो सामने आई, जिसके अंदर वो कह रहे हैं कि जो शुभेच्छक जिन्होंने मेरा साथ दिया और इस मौके पे मेरा स्वागत करने के लिए आए, मैं उनका सभी का धन्यवाद कहता हूं। और इस तरह के आरोप जो विनोद बंसल जी की तरफ से जो लगाए जा रहे हैं वो गलत हैं और अगर उन्हें वो देखना है तो हमारे पास में उसकी वीडियो रिकॉर्डिंग्स हैं, फोटोग्राफ्स हैं, इमेजेस हैं, आप उन्हें वो शो कर सकते हैं और वहां के जो लोकल गोधरा के जो कार्यकर्ता विश्व हिंदू परिषद के हैं वो साफ हैं और उनकी तरफ से ही ये स्वागत किया गया है और उसके अंदर वो स्वयं मौजूद हैं। वो तस्वीर है जो तस्वीरें कभी झूठ नहीं बोलती।
बंसल साहब, आपने सुना राजपूत साहब ने जो कहा। अमित राजपूत हमारे कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट है, प्रिंसिपल कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट।
मैं पूछूं कुछ?
हाँ जी, पूछिए।
मैं कहता हूँ गोधरा का कौन सा कार्यालय, विश्व हिंदू परिषद का कोई कार्यालय गोधरा में है क्या? कहाँ पर है वो, जरा उसका एड्रेस बता सकते हैं क्या? क्या विश्व हिंदू परिषद कार्यालय है? नंबर 1। नंबर 2, इन्होंने कहा कि राधेश्याम, क्या राधेश्याम विश्व हिंदू परिषद का कोई पदाधिकारी है क्या? नंबर 3, जो लोग अगर वहां से चले गए इसका मतलब क्या विश्व हिंदू परिषद के भगोड़े थे क्या? चौथी बात ये कि इनके पास विजुअल है तो विजुअल को दिखाए ना, आखिरकार कौन सा कार्यालय है जहां पर के विश्व हिंदू परिषद ने फेलिसिटेशन किया और विश्व हिंदू परिषद कौन सा अधिकारी वहां पता? लेट मी सी।
देखिए, ये जो कार्यालय है, ये जो विश्व हिंदू परिषद के जो कार्यकर्ता हैं जिनके द्वारा ये स्वागत किया गया है, वो स्वयं वहां पर मौजूद थे और वहीं पे ही स्वागत हुआ है। उन्हीं का
नाम बताइए ना।
उन्हीं का ये कार्यालय है और उन्हीं के कार्यालय पे ये जो स्वागत की जो
हेलो बोलिए राजपूत साहब, बोलिए।
हेलो,
या वी कैन हियर यू।
राहुल जी, थोड़ा करेक्शन करना पड़ेगा। हेलो, देखिए मैं आज पहली बार देख रहा हूँ।
आपकी आवाज आ रही है राजपूत साहब? Let's connect again. Nizam bhai, let's connect with Mr. Rajput again. Yes, I think we lost him. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan has raised his hand. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Rahul, very quickly, there are 3 issues. First of all, it was one of the most abhorrent crimes that India had witnessed. Absolutely despicable. The punishment was served. The men who committed that abhorrent crime were convicted. They served their sentences. The remission process, the Supreme Court adjudication was completely legal. But there are 3 issues here. Number 1, it is unacceptable, VHP or no VHP, to offer sweets to garland those who've come out after committing this abhorrent crime. Unacceptable. And I was the one who was the first one to condemn what Jayant Sinha did. You know, garland those lynchers convicted of lynching in Jharkhand. So totally unacceptable, abhorrent, appalling. Number 2, it is also appalling to have politicians as a member of those remission panels if it is exclusive to Gujarat or any other state. There is a straight conflict of interest. There should not be any politician, leave alone BJP or Congress or anyone, for deciding whether a remission should take place or not. And number 3, I am the one who condemns all these things universally. Universally. Across there, I am agnostic to anyone who does it. बट जो आज आउटरीच कर रहे हैं उनके मुंह में दही क्यों जम जाता है जब कमलनाथ, द मोमेंट ही गेन्स ऑफिस इन 2019, टेक्स अ कैबिनेट डिसीजन वेयर ही विड्रॉज 50,000 केसेस अगेंस्ट कांग्रेस पीपल। उनके मुंह में दही क्यों जम जाता है जो आउटरीच कर रहे हैं जब बीएसपी एक कैंडिडेट चुनता है जो कि ऑफर करता है 51 करोड़ टू एनीवन हु बिहेव्स चार्ली हेब्डो जर्नलिस्ट। उनके मुंह में दही क्यों जम जाता है तहसीन जैसे जब M.K. Stalin, the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, openly felicitates the killer of Rajiv Gandhi. मैं सबको कंडेम करता हूं, ये लोग सिलेक्टिवली क्यों कंडेम करते हैं? यही प्रॉब्लम है इस देश की।
Okay, that's a slightly different issue right now. We're discussing this particular issue, the Bilkis issue. We have discussed the others. We have had the DMK. We've cornered them, asked them why they were actually garlanding the assassin of Rajiv Gandhi, etc., or people who were sort of involved in that conspiracy. We've gone down that route. We've even attacked.
You did.
Yes, I did, of course.
You did.
I always,
the others never did.
I always do.
The others never did.
Always call out. I always call out palpable illegality. Of course, a whole ecosystem has built its entire career in suggesting that I don't, but that's on them, not on me. Nonetheless, forget about all of that. I want to bring in Mr. Poonawalla. Mr. Poonawalla, look, there are certain problems here. The MHA notification of SC's new direction, Gujarat made a new policy. New policy listed cases where remission could not be granted. Prisoners convicted of a crime investigated by agency like CBI and prisoners convicted for murder with rape or gang rape. So please listen to this. This was not supposed to happen. If you're convicted for gang rape, you can't be given remission. And therefore, I want to bring in the lawyer for the convicts here. Mr. Bansal has left the show. I don't know why. Mr. Rajput, we've got back. He's going to come out with the specific details in just a few moments. But Mr. Rishi Malhotra, I want to ask you this question. Prisoners convicted for murder with rape or gang rape. This is an MHA notification 2014 on SC's new directions. Gujarat made this new policy. So how are these people given remission? Unless, of course, it was a totally political exercise with the polls just around the corner.
I'm very happy that you have asked me this proper question now.
Right, sir.
Because all the time what was discussed was post-release conduct, which is not relevant, to be very frank. Now, please don't forget the basic principle of law, which the Supreme Court has laid down, which is that a policy of remission would be applicable on a convict on the date of his conviction by the trial court. Now, in this case, the trial court had convicted the prisoner in 2008. So naturally, a 2014 policy will not have any retrospective effect for a 2008 conviction. So at that time, the policy which was in existence was year 1992. Now, the difference between the 92 policy and 2014 policy was that in 92, it again said 14 years has to be the minimum punishment. No. And 2014 policy also said...
Sir, no, sir, 1 second. 92, life imprisonment and arbitrary or notional figure of 20 years. 92 policy.
No. 92 policy, 2014 policy, both talks about minimum 14 years of imprisonment for a convict.
I don't know, because these are the facts that I have. I will have to cross-check this.
No, your facts are not correct, because I did this case. I have annexed both the policy in Supreme Court.
Okay, the 1992 remission policy was invalidated by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court in 2012 said remission can be given only on a case-by-case basis.
No, please try to understand the fundamental of law, actually, which is nobody has taken care of that.
Right.
2014 policy and 92 policy, the only difference was that in 2014 policy, there was a prohibition clause that in case a matter is investigated by a CBI or a rape case, the man will not be entitled for remission. Now, it's a settled law for Supreme Court for last 20 odd years.
Okay, so you're applying the law to the absolute last letter, and therefore you have come out and released them. People will say that the spirit of the law, the spirit of what... No, now let's talk about... I know, sir, you're not qualified to speak about the spirit, because that enters a more...
I hope and I trust all the panelists sitting here that nobody can question a wisdom of a Supreme Court judge. They have seen both the policies when I was arguing this case.
No, you can question.
92 policy
you can question the wisdom of any judge on earth. Perhaps the only judge you can't question,
I don't understand why,
because you have no agency to do so, is God. But certainly you can question the wisdom of the Supreme Court justices. So let's not put them on such a high pedestal. You know, the higher you put someone on a pedestal, the higher you put someone on a pedestal, sir, the further they can fall. So let's not do that to the poor Supreme Court justices. Their wisdom can be questioned. You have a system. No, please, sir, please. Please.
Rahul, I want to come in. Rahul, I want to come in.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Sanjay Hegde, lawyer to lawyer, Sanjay Hegde. 1 second. Yes.
See, there is no right to remission. There is a right to be considered for remission. Yeah. When you consider, you have to consider the entire facts. Here in this case, there was one petitioner who went to the Supreme Court. His facts were different. He was 70 plus. Maybe you could have considered it, saying that he's 70 plus at this stage, likely to be not to be a danger, etc., etc. On an individual case, individual accused, maybe. But here, all 11 wholesale, you take advantage of the judgment that one person has got. You do not figure out, you do not even ask the victims or ascertain from other people who are likely to take a broader view of society. Your parole committee,
victim has no place for a remission consideration. It is the state machinery. It is a district magistrate.
Well, viewers, I need to step in. I've run out of time. We've spent half an hour on this story. The resolution now, what we are coming to is one side is saying we applied the law to its letter. Mr. Hegde says that there is a lacuna even there that needs to be addressed. There are others who are saying that you have to apply the law also. Justice must also be seen to be done. So spirit of the law must also be upheld, and that's where the problem is. I leave it to you to judge this, viewers. I leave it to you to judge. Even the felicitation. Was it right or was it wrong? In my book, it's wrong. In my book, it's a terrible travesty. Yes, everyone has a right to be rehabilitated, but not felicitated as heroes, as icons. I leave it at that, viewers.
Legally, and unsocial wise, to sell their body parts, to sell their children, to sell their household, to sell their dreams, hopes, everything, but not able to study or work and earn some money legally and with honor to feed their family. So definitely that could be the worst happening to women. Nowadays, Afghanistan is the only one country around the world where girl child is not able to go to school, especially for secondary and higher education. So it shows clearly that how women are surviving life in a country where just your gender becomes a crime to stop you from all humanitarian rights. So definitely living in that country will cost you not only your life, but your dignity, your hope, emotions, and dreams.
Do you think there is a chance for change?
Actually, it's so clear. They have to change. They have to change. Not only starting from that small resistance or activities inside the country, but global-wise, there is a big amount of resistance going on. There is previously, and in the history of Afghanistan, it was always men rising up and changing the situation. But this time, we see it globally that there are women who are stepping up. Women of Afghanistan are not anymore women of 90s. So it's so clear that they have to change. Otherwise, they need to just give up.
You also recently visited Kabul, if I'm not wrong. How do you see the country has changed?
But just few days later, the closure of schools, and that also in a way that schools were open, girls were already inside school for 1 or 2 hours, and then suddenly Taliban are coming and kicking them out of their classes. So this is, this was that, climbing up into the top of a mountain and then without having anything in your hand to help you and support you, you fell down and you broke into pieces. So that happened not only to me, to everyone around the country and outside the country, for all Afghan citizens all around, especially for women.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shiv Shankar.
For decision makers, for the opinionated, for the unsure, for dinner time debaters, from metro stations to living rooms.
We present the facts and help India make a judgment. From stories that shake the nation to opinions that shape them, I delve deep into the biggest news of the day and uncover every fact, every source, and every statement through debate and discussion. Get a 360-degree perspective on every story and get a conclusive closure. Join me, Navika Kumar, on the Newshour at 9, only on Times Now. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Two of the main tests for the road to 2024 should actually be law and order and the quality of governance that many candidates have to offer. The incidents from 3 states in the last couple of days have put a spotlight on the netas governing or calling the shots in these states. Just days after snapping ties with the BJP and joining hands with the RJD, all is not well in the land of Sushasan Babu. These 3 incidents have put a question mark on the state of affairs in Bihar. In the capital, Patna, a girl was shot at by unknown man on a busy road in broad daylight. She's battling for her life after sustaining bullet injuries on her head. If that was not enough, a serving army jawan on leave was shot dead by 2 bike-borne for resisting a looting bid, again in the capital city of Patna. But what's emboldening this crime in the heart of the city? 17 out of the 32 mantris in Nitish's cabinet 8.0 face serious criminal charges. Law Minister Kartikeya Singh, accused of kidnapping a builder, was to surrender on the 16th of August, the day he was actually not found surrendering but found taking oath at the Raj Bhavan. Lacy Singh and Sudhakar Singh, appointed as the Agriculture Minister, also have cases against them and cases as serious as murder. But when asked about it, this is what the Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar had to say.
आप तो जो मन में आवेगा बोलेगा ना, चलिए ना, कभी जरूरत होगा तब ना सब बतवा बोलेंगे, समझ गए ना, एक एक चीज का बोलेंगे, ऐसे तो ऐसे ही लोग प्रचार प्रसार में कुछ बोलते उससे कोई मतलब नहीं। अब तो और ज्यादा काम और तेजी से होगा, चिंता मत करिएगा। वो सब देखा जा रहा है कि मामला क्या है।
और कोई काम है डिफेम करने के अलावा और कोई काम है? 15 अगस्त को जो ऐलान हुआ बेरोजगारी मिटाने का, जो हम लोगों ने संकल्प लिया, मुहर लगाया निर्णय पर 10 लाख की नौकरी और रोजगार को लेकर के, तब से लोग अनकंफर्टेबल हैं। हम लोग तो जनता के लिए काम कर रहे हैं। हमारा इंटेंशन जो है साफ तौर पे क्लियर हो चुका है। और बाकी तो जो मंत्री थे उनका तो वकील वगैरह सब लोग तो बताएं पुलिस इन्वेस्टिगेशन में क्या है।
Well, if that was Bihar, let's take a look at Rajasthan, where crimes against Dalits are on the rise. Such is the case that the Chief Minister himself is facing fire from his own cadre. A Dalit teacher was set on fire on August 10th in Jaipur and lost the battle for her life yesterday. And we already know a 9-year-old student was beaten to pulp for allegedly trying to quench his thirst and drinking water from a earthen pot meant for the upper caste students and teachers. But despite all this, the Chief Minister says adequate measures have been taken to tackle the situation. In Bengal, Didi's trusted lieutenant are in the grip of the ED and CBI. Partha Chatterjee and Arpita Mukherjee, who looted to the tune of 53 crore found in cash, will be in judicial custody till the 31st of August, while another Trinamool Congress strongman, Anubrata Mondal, is in the CBI net for allegedly facilitating cattle smuggling to other side of the border. His FTs worth almost 17 crore rupees have been seized. Didi maintains that he is being falsely implicated while she is busy meeting with people like Subramaniam Swamy, who are now in the anti-Modi camp and could possibly give her a shoulder for the battle of 2024. The critics are going after Rahul Gandhi, Nitish Kumar and Mamata Banerjee. They say that in their quest to become the prime ministerial face for the opposition in the 2024 polls, they are ignoring law and order in their own backyards while ready to shoot and scoot when it comes to the BJP-ruled states. So that brings me to the legitimate question on the Newshour tonight. Is Sushasan taking a backseat? is it even on the discussion table while deciding the face for 2024 as challenger to Modi? That's the debate. And the hashtag law and order test. That's the debate on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining me tonight, Kapil Madan, advocate and political analyst, Rajiv Ranjan, spokesperson of the JDU, Dr. Shantanu Sen, national spokesperson and member of parliament of the Trinamool Congress. But my first question goes to Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP. Sanju Verma, while everybody in this country is, constitutionally allowed to stand as a prime ministerial candidate or whatever candidature they want to fight for, that's the constitutional right they have. But do you think people of this country should have at least an alternative plan of action which should become the basis of choosing our leaders and our governments in the future? Or do we just go with a motley group of people who clearly have nothing much to offer in terms of governance or in terms of law and order, the basic minimum requirement, yet there is such a race for, getting the job of the challenger to Modi in 2024. Have people been forgotten, Sanju Verma?
Navika, I think you raised a very pertinent question, and without beating around the bush, let me tell you very honestly that I was in a debate on your channel when you took out, the sample survey results, which clearly say that by far Narendra Modi continues to be the most popular leader. We are slated, when I say we, I mean the BJP-led NDA, for a third term in a row in 2024. Now, I will just say that, umpteen times I have said on your debate that a constructive and a strong opposition is the bedrock of democracy. And do we need one? Most certainly yes, with no ifs or buts. Do we have one? Certainly not is the answer. The important point is that people say that Narendra Modi's Tina factor, there is no other alternative, is now crumbling, and in 2024 we will be fighting against, the incumbency factor. And I say they will not, because as you said, while good governance, while inclusivity, which is defined by Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas and Sabka Prayas things, the fact is I still believe that the Aam Janta can never forget two important things. One is corruption and one is law and order. I challenge, not only on your panel, but across the spectrum, since yours is a widely watched show, tell me and show me one leader who has impeccable credentials like Narendra Modi. Show me one leader who has impeccable credentials like Amit Shah when it comes to zero tolerance for corruption. Show me one leader like JP Nadda who has impeccable credentials and has again zero tolerance for corruption. What do we have on the opposition end? We have Sonia Gandhi out on bail. We have Rahul Gandhi out on bail. We have P. Chidambaram out on bail. We have Karti Chidambaram out on bail. We have Nalini Chidambaram out on bail. Basically, the entire Congress top brass is out on bail. Now, coming to Mamata Banerjee, since she harbors prime ministerial ambition and she's made no bones about it. For long, Mamata Banerjee said, I have nothing to do with Partha Chatterjee. But don't forget, Navika, Partha Chatterjee was no fringe element. He has been, before being sent to judicial custody, he was the number 2 in the Mamata Banerjee cabinet. Even after Mamata Banerjee came to know that he was involved in the education scam, what did she do? She removed him from the education ministry. And lo and behold, she gave him the ministries of industry, information technology, public transport and electronics. So basically, Bengal if you're corrupt, one ministry is taken away from you, but you're given 6 other ministries, and corruption has been rationalized, normalized and incentivized in Bengal. Quickly in 20 seconds, when it comes to the, RJD, JDU combined currently, who is the law minister? Law minister in Bihar currently is Kartikeya Singh. 16 अगस्त को पहुंचना था जेल, पर कार्तिकेय सिंह पहुंच गए राजभवन शपथ ग्रहण करने के लिए. Who is the agriculture minister? Sudhakar Singh. the Indira Gandhi International Airport. And most importantly, let's not forget Anand Mohan. He was to present himself at the Patna High Court on August 12th. And where did he land? He was accorded a hero's welcome at his own residence, meeting supporters and actually addressing a political rally from his residence. And when the DM of Khagadia, A.R. Ghosh, was asked, why did you allow Anand Mohan to go scot-free? You know what was the response of Khagadia DM? He said, "Acha, wo Anand Mohan ji hai kya? Mujhe laga koi aur hai." Look at the brazen impunity with which corruption is being rationalized.
And the brazenness of it all clearly is something that really treats the people of India almost as if they were bystanders looking at what is happening. And I want to ask you, Dr. Shantanu Sen. Dr. Shantanu Sen, do you think it's the new normal if an army jawan is shot on the streets of Patna in broad daylight? Do you think it's the new normal if a scheduled caste teacher is burnt alive in the capital of Rajasthan? Do you think it's a new normal if 56 crores are found in a top minister's aide's residence? I just want to ask you, where do people of India figure in all this? Of course, as I said, everybody has the right to challenge the current government because when they finish their 2 terms in office, there should be an alternative for the people of India to choose from. But what is the alternative that other parties are offering? Should that be a point in discussion in this country, in this democracy, or not? Dr. Sen.
Navika, I was feeling like laughing at my previous speaker when he was talking about the criminal background of some leaders. With all humility, I would like to remind you who was Amit Shah and who was Sharafuddin. Did you forget? I would like to remind you 116 MPs out of 303 MPs of BJP, they are having criminal charges against them. And you are talking about corruption? Let me tell you one thing. If you want to talk about corruption, then you have to swallow the Vijay Mallya issue, which is a scam of 7,500 crore. Jatin Mehta 6,500 crore. Nirav Modi 6,400 crore. Lalit Modi 1,700 crore. Nitin Sansera 5,300 crore. Rajiv Goyal 778 crore. Ritesh Jain 1,400 crore. Rishi Agarwal 22,842 crore. ICICI Bank scam 1,800 crore. Yes Bank scam 2,200 crore. FinCEN scam 7,900 crore. Ashish Jaunatpur scam 770 crore and Mehul Choksey 7,080 crore. Did you forget regarding GSPC scam, Balco scam, Chiki scam, Axis Bank scam, PDA scam, DHFL scam, Nirav Modi, Lohit Modi? How many can I tell? There are only 26 alphabets. What can I do A to Z? But with these 22 alphabets, I cannot cover the entire scams of BJP. And you are talking about corruption? Presently, India is facing the worst possible situation since independence.
So, Dr. Shantanu Sen,
to respond
to the BJP, now you have a 56 crore, haul that comes out from your minister's aide's residence. Is that the answer?
Allow me to finish, madam. Navika, kindly allow me to finish. You allowed her to speak as he wanted, as he desired. Kindly allow me to speak. I will take only 1 more minute time. If you go through the Global 100 Index, India positions 101 out of 119. If you go by the World Happiness Index, India is at a situation of 136 out of 150. Let me tell you, in 2024 is going to be a battle between BJP and people of India. In last few years, 20 political allies, they have left BJP. That's why the trustworthy allies of BJP as of now is ED and CBI. That's why it's not going to be an election to elect a political leader of the country. It's going to be an election to oust BJP. And after the people of India oust BJP, they will decide who is going to be the political leader of the country. Once again, I repeat, it's going to be an election in 2024 to oust BJP to give relief to the people of the country.
Fantastic. So your agenda is oust the BJP, but no plan for the people of this country. वो अगर 1000 करोड़ करते हैं, हमारे 56 करोड़ हो गए, तो what's the big deal? Is that your answer? Are you mocking the people of this country?
No, we never justify. No, certainly not.
No, so I'm asking you what's your plan for the people? I'm not asking you what's the plan for the BJP.
Certainly not.
I'm asking you what's the plan for the people of India.
Our plan, yeah, our plan for the people of India to give them relief from this total condition. Our plan for the people of the country to give them a real political, social and economical independence in true sense.
Fantastic. So Kapil Madan, that social and economic independence will come through the homes of ministers' aides where cash is found. My question is straightforward. I want to ask you, Mr. Kapil Madan, the Trinamool Congress says they have a plan to oust the BJP. Fair enough, that's your political plan. It's entirely your business what your political plan is. But is there a plan for the people of India, the people who will have to vote for you? Are you giving them an alternative? What are you giving them? Are you giving them those pictures of bundles of notes that are recovered? Is that the alternative that is being offered? Or is the alternative what has been given by the Congress party in Rajasthan, where a child who's a scheduled caste child is beaten up and then no FIR is registered for 25 to 27 days. When he dies, one FIR comes up, that also, as an afterthought. And then there is another scheduled caste teacher who's burnt alive in action of the law and order machinery in the state, and the chief minister is sitting in Gujarat preparing for the elections of Gujarat. 138 days since Matloob Ahmed has been absconding in Karoli, but nowhere to be found. Another name of Gurjar who was absconding, he is himself surrendered. The police could not find him, but he has himself come and surrendered himself. But that's not an issue. ये सब छोटी-छोटी बातें ये तो होती रहती हैं. हमें तो बीजेपी को हराना है, यही हमारा निशाना है. जनता गई तेल लेने. कपिल Madan.
Navika ji, you've given ample time to all the participants here, and
you take time, sir. I will give you the entire show. If you don't do topi transfer and give some answers that the people of India want to hear.
Yes, I will not give any topi transfer. I will respond to all the allegation, and starting with what Sanju Verma said. Sanju Verma has very loudly boasted about the credentials of Mr. Modi, and since the debate started by the context of the debate was law and order in the country. So I will just first respond to what Sanju said. So here we have our Prime Minister who very proudly made a statement that we need to ensure on the eve of on the Independence Day that the crime against the woman, the respect to the woman, and he made all those statements on the Independence Day. So I just want to remind our Prime Minister here and to Sanju Verma also, he's the same person who made some remarks, and I will give you and quote his remarks. One was 50 crore ki girlfriend. Second remark was Congress ki vidwa. Is this the kind of credential are we talking about? After having these kind of statements, do you still have the audacity to talk about giving respect to the woman, and that too on Independence Day, and that too from the Lal Killa on such an occasion? So
May I respond to that?
You means no word. No, I have not completed. That's why I said that please.
Allow him to complete. Allow him to complete. I'll come to you, Sanju ji.
Yes. So now we have a party. Now recently again she has spoken about several leaders facing criminal charges. We have today a report where one of the prominent minister is being accused of rape by the Honorable High Court. There is again a report today. One of their legislature from UP is convicted and serving a sentence in a POXO in a rape case in UP. And they want to talk about women empowerment, and they want to talk about giving respect to the woman. And also you have narrated few incidents, and I would also like to now respond to the incidents that has happened. as recently as on 17th of August 2022, a man slit his wife's throat in UP, a pregnant woman. Second incident on 29th of July where a UP woman was gang raped. Another one on August 3rd of 2022, a minor choked.
So you are saying UP में हुआ तो राजस्थान में क्यों नहीं? नहीं, UP में हुआ तो राजस्थान में क्यों नहीं? So your answer is exactly the topi transfer. Your answer is exactly the topi transfer because it's happening in Uttar Pradesh. So it's fine if it happens. If a teacher is burnt in Rajasthan, what's the big deal? If she's burnt in Jaipur, the capital of Rajasthan, what's the big deal? Hangama hai kyun barpa? Is that your explanation?
I will tell you, no, my explanation is you don't have people in the opposition supporting a person who's being accused of rape. We saw in Unnao how rallies were happened in support of Kuldeep Singh Sengar. We recently saw in Bilkis Bano's case.
Maybe, sir, but on this show, 3 years ago, we tore Kuldeep Sengar to bits on this show, sir. So your answer to the BJP is your politics. I'm asking you what is your answer to the people of India. I'm not interested in the balance sheet between the BJP, the Congress, the Trinamool Congress and the JDU. I'm just not interested and nor are the people of India. They are interested in your answers on Rajasthan. What do you have to say about Rajasthan? Do you have an answer?
The BJP.
Do you have an answer?
Yes, I have an answer. Please listen. The answer to your question is that in opposition, you don't see leaders shamelessly promoting and siding with these kind of
We don't see. I'll play out the sound bite. I'll play out the sound bite of Mr. Ashok Gehlot. My reporter this morning, Amit Rajput, asked him a question on Matloob Ahmed. I'll play out that bite. In 10 seconds, I'm playing out that bite. The man is on the run after violence and 140 days being on the run. This is what the Chief Minister has to say. You know, my reporters, the reporters of Times Now and Times Now Navbharat continue to ask these questions on Shrikant Tyagi, on Kuldeep Sengar, and they also ask questions on Rajasthan. Please hear what the Chief Minister had to say. Well, I'm coming to that. We'll just play it out for you. We have that bite. I'll just play it out.
Navika I would also request you to play what questions have you asked to the chief ministers on UP on all these incidents that have happened in the state.
My friend,
please show that
when you were going for political tourism, to Hathras, my friend, my teams had been camping there way before Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra and brought that incident to light in front of this country way before your conscience was awakened. So don't ask me questions. Don't ask me questions.
I thank you.
I'm doing my.
I thank you for raising
We are doing our job, my friend. What is the job the Chief Minister of Rajasthan has been entrusted with, and where is that job being done? Nizamba, is the soundbite ready? Can we have that on the screen, please?
I thank you for raising these kind of issues because we saw in UP, especially in Hathras,
one excuse after the other. I'm coming to you, Sanju Verma, but I want to ask Rajiv Ranjan ji. Rajiv Ranjan ji, हर सवाल का जवाब होता है कि उत्तर प्रदेश में हो रहा है तो आप सवाल राजस्थान पे क्यों पूछ रहे हैं? अगर उत्तर प्रदेश में हो रहा है तो आप सवाल बिहार पे क्यों पूछ रहे हैं? अरे बिहार का सवाल बिहार वालों से पूछेंगे, उत्तर प्रदेश का सवाल उत्तर प्रदेश वालों से पूछेंगे। तो आप बिहार में तो बता दीजिए, लड़कियों को दिन दहाड़े सड़क पर गोली मार दी जाती है, बैंक लूट लिए जाते हैं, और आर्मी का जवान भी अगर सेफ नहीं है दिन दहाड़े तो कौन सेफ है बिहार में? राजीव रंजन जी,
देखिए, आपने दो तीन घटनाओं की चर्चा की, लेकिन मैं चाहूँगा कि इन घटनाओं को लेकर मैंने आपके पिछले बहस में भी कहा है कि ऐसी घटनाएं कहीं ना कहीं हम सबको विचलित करती हैं और हम सब उससे मर्माहत होते हैं। पुलिस मुख्यालय ने इसे चुनौती के तौर पर लिया है। जो भी कठोरतम कार्रवाई सुनिश्चित की जाएगी, इसलिए कि बिहार में फास्ट ट्रैक कोर्ट्स हैं, स्पीडी ट्रायल कराया जाता है और जल्द से जल्द ऐसी घटनाओं में जहां आवश्यकता है ऐसे कोर्ट्स को कॉन्स्टिट्यूट किए जाने की, वहां करके उन्हें सजा भी दिलाई जाएगी। लेकिन मैं अभी, आप फिर कहेंगे कि ये टोपी ट्रांसफर है, चूंकि कुछ कमाल के तथ्य हैं कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी हमसे सवाल कर सकती है, हम उनसे नहीं करेंगे। हम उनसे नहीं पूछ सकते हैं कि उत्तर प्रदेश में एक ऐसा व्यक्ति इनकी सरकार में मंत्री है जिसने मायावती जी को खुलकर गालियां दी। पहले उसकी धर्मपत्नी को उपकृत किया गया मंत्री बनाकर, अब वो श्रीमान धनंजय सिंह जी इनकी सरकार में मंत्री हैं उत्तर प्रदेश में। 22 मंत्री वहां दागी हैं और केंद्रीय मंत्रिपरिषद, आप बिहार के कानून मंत्री की बात कर रहे हैं, मैं किसी की वकालत नहीं कर रहा हूं, लेकिन मैं देश के गृह राज्य मंत्री की बात कर रहा हूं, जो 8वीं पास हैं श्रीमान, और उन पर हत्या का मुकदमा दर्ज है। पंकज चौधरी जी विदेश राज्य मंत्री हैं, उन पर मामले दर्ज हैं। जो संसदीय कार्य का मंत्रालय है, अल्पसंख्यक कार्य का मंत्रालय है, ऐसे महत्वपूर्ण मंत्रालयों में इनके दागी मंत्री है, उनकी संख्या 33 है। ये उत्तर प्रदेश, जो योगी आदित्यनाथ जी और नरेंद्र मोदी जी सीधे तौर पर इन दो नेताओं का साथ है उत्तर प्रदेश के साथ, वहां दागी मंत्रियों के साथ ऐसा क्या रिश्ता है कि 2017 में 20 दागी मंत्री थे और वही 22 हो गए, उसमें बढ़ोतरी कर दी गई। आप गुजरात चली जाए, वहां 7 दागी मंत्री हैं, पहले की
आपके यहाँ
72%
दागी मंत्री हैं, उस पर आपके पास कोई जवाब नहीं है। लेकिन आप बात कर रहे हैं उत्तर प्रदेश के
75% है।
75,
सुनिए ना, महाराष्ट्र में 75% है,
75 से 72 हो गए तो तरक्की हो गई।
नहीं, मैंने कहा महाराष्ट्र में
सवाल उठा रहे हैं।
सुनिए ना, महाराष्ट्र में 75% मंत्री दागी हैं, उत्तराखंड में 22 मंत्री दागी हैं, जो 22 एमएलए दागी हैं, जिसमें 17 अकेले भारतीय जनता पार्टी के एमएलए हैं और 4 मंत्री हैं उसमें।
चलिए
किस राज्य में, चाहे वो हरियाणा की सरकार हो या देश के किसी राज्य में,
when people of India
नहीं,
ask
मैं 30 सेकंड, चूंकि आपने सबको सुना,
all we are given is competitive politics on how many criminal
मुझे 30 सेकंड दे दीजिए, इसलिए कि आपने सबको समय दिया है।
No answers. People of India cannot expect an answer on why there is a law minister in Bihar who is an absconder. We cannot ask a question to Mr. Gehlot, because when we asked a question to Mr. Gehlot, please hear what he had to say.
मेरा सवाल है मतलूब अहमद सर, मतलूब अहमद फरार सर, लेकिन राजस्थान के, मेरा सवाल है मतलूब अहमद सर, मतलूब अहमद फरार सर, लेकिन राजस्थान के, मेरा सवाल है मतलूब अहमद सर, मतलूब अहमद फरार सर, लेकिन राजस्थान,
सवाल है 140 दिन से मतलूब अहमद गायब हैं, तो कह रहे हैं छोड़ो यार, क्या पूछ रहे हो संजू वर्मा, छोड़ो यार, अब तो कंपटीशन है। प्लीज आंसर व्हाई बिल्किस बानो's rapists and killers have been left. It's a question that even the BJP needs to do some soul searching on. When BJP talks about women empowerment, you must also answer about Bilkis Bano.
Navika ji, I will need 2 minutes. I will answer your question also, but there were many allegations put forth by, the Congress panelists here. You're talking of Pradhan Mantri ne kya kaha, 50 crore ki girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. I will not even remind you that, your Kamal Nath address BJP's Dalit leader Imarti Devi as an item number, and he, Digvijay Singh called his own Congress colleague Meenakshi Natarajan as Kanchmal. I want to ask a simple question. Few days back, Sonia Gandhi's personal secretary T.P. Madhavan was accused of rape. Have you seen Priyanka Gandhi Vadra or Rahul Gandhi even offering a simple explanation on Twitter? वैसे तो राहुल गांधी पूरे ब्रह्मांड का ज्ञान देते हैं ट्विटर पर, और प्रियंका वड्रा बड़े बड़े नारे लगाती हैं, लड़की हूं लड़ सकती हूं, लड़की हूं लड़ सकती हूं। पर जब मेरी खुद की माता जी सोनिया गांधी के पर्सनल असिस्टेंट पर रेप का मुकदमा चालू हो, तब प्रियंका गांधी वड्रा के मुंह में दही जम जाता है। इसीलिए यहाँ बैठकर बीजेपी को कांग्रेस भाषण न दे। अगेन councillor in Kannur. I did not interrupt you. Navika, I will not debate if I am interrupted.
No answer on
You did not allow me to interrupt.
Only water boundary.
You did not allow me to interrupt. I refuse to debate. I refuse to debate if I'm not given time.
Because you don't have an answer.
No, you also didn't have an answer, Mr. Kapil Vadan. You also didn't have an answer, but if you want an answer, we can give you some breaking news. Bahubali Sunil Pandey arrested in UP. The Yogi crackdown on lawbreakers is here. Sunil Pandey faces charges of conspiracy and harboring criminals in UP. And he is somebody who has been, a politician and has been close to many political parties. The crackdown is happening. But Sanju Verma, clearly politics apart, at least as a woman leader, would you want to comment on Bilkis Bano and her rapists being given remission? I'm running out of time. 30 seconds.
Navika ji, I will comment on that, but let me just tell you that, I'll quickly take 10 seconds to also respond to the TMC. He read out a law of Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi, Mehul Choksi. So let me remind you, Nirmala Sitharaman on the floor of the parliament has said that we have recovered more than 23,000 crore worth of dues and banks have been given that money back. This is more than what Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi owed the country. But what about your Sarada scam, your Narada scam, your Rose Rally scam, Partha Chatterjee, the confidant of Mamata Banerjee? When media starts making a hue and cry, you said, we don't know who is Partha Chatterjee. Now, your Mamata Banerjee is shielding Anubrata Mandal, who's charged with cattle smuggling. The CBI has been handed the Hamsakhali gang rape case. Mamata Banerjee said, Hamsakhali mein to gang rape hua hi nahi. The CBI has been handed over the Birbhum massacre case. Mamata Banerjee said, Birbhum mein to kuch hua hi nahi. CBI has been handed the post-poll Bengal violence case in which Hindus were butchered and 80,000 Hindus had to flee Bengal. Again, Mamata Banerjee said, post-poll violence to hua hi nahi. So Mr. Shantar, stop lecturing the BJP. Now coming to Bilkis Bano. This is a controversial issue, but I will, say a couple of things. On the 13th of May 2022, one of the convicts, Radhesham Shah, he had appealed to the Supreme Court on 1st April 2022.
We know that, we know that, but the Supreme Court set up a committee with representatives of the BJP being on it. Can you actually let those people off? Is there any justification?
Navika, may I please? It's a sensitive question. If you ask me a question, I could have just said I will not answer that. But if you ask me a question, please extend me at least, the courtesy of 30 seconds, because I want that the BJP standpoint on this should come out loud and clear. Point number one, the Supreme Court, in a judgment dated 13th May 2022, told the Gujarat government that if it indeed feels that it can have a remission of sentence for the people who were convicted of Bilkis Bano rape and have served more than 15 years in prison, then they should go and look at the 1992 circular when Chimanbhai Patel of Congress was the Gujarat Chief Minister and make a kind consideration as to whether, since these people have been incarcerated for a long time, if there can be a remission in sentence. The Supreme Court did the same thing earlier this year, Navika, and I did not see anybody from the opposition making a noise when Terari Valan, one of the key accused in the Rajiv Gandhi assassination.
Well, once again, another comparison that is being thrown at us, but is that the only answer we will get from political parties? The question is, I still continue to ask, and I'm still groping for answers, what about an alternative plan for the people to choose from? Is it just a game of chess and musical chairs between political parties, or do people of India have a role in who's the leader they're going to choose? And what's the plan that these leaders have to offer? Well, we are still begging for answers, not getting any. We leave it at that, taking a short break as I thank my panelists joining me on debate number 1. On the other side, of course, as always, in your face, absolutely uncensored, Vivek Agnihotri, joining me on Newshour Direct.
watching the News Hour at 9. Stay tuned.
Party symbol, flag of Bharatiya Janata Party is also there. But what is more shocking is this particular sticker which has been on the windshield of this car, which says that Vidhayak Vidhan Sabha Sachivalaya, Gadi number 0505. I'm sorry, it's a UP 32HH0001.
पता करिए उनसे कि 15 लड़के कैसे इस सोसाइटी में अपनी जीत देंगे। इससे बड़ी शर्म की बात नहीं हो सकती।
I am saying some things that are maybe not the easiest thing in the world to hear. I'm not sitting here.
You're watching the News Hour at 9.
Joining me tonight is Vivek Agnihotri, the very, very famous Vivek Agnihotri, filmmaker, a man who speaks his mind, a man who has changed the template on which Bollywood was working. थैंक यू विवेक अग्निहोत्री जी, आप हमारे साथ जुड़ रहे हैं। और जब आपसे बात होती है तो शुरू करने का मुद्दा हमेशा आप समझिए कि इत्तेफाक है, कोइंसिडेंस है कि कश्मीर ही बन जाता है। आज ही कश्मीर पर बड़ा बयान आया है और कश्मीर के लीडर जो हैं महबूबा मुफ्ती जैसे, वो कह रहे हैं कि कुछ सरकार ऐसा करने जा रही है कि वोटिंग राइट्स उत्तर प्रदेश और बिहार वालों को कश्मीर में देने की कोशिश हो रही है। तो क्या इस देश में अब 2 पासपोर्ट लगेंगे? आप इस थॉट पर, इस मूव पर और महबूबा मुफ्ती जी के इस बयान पर क्या मानते हैं?
यानी अब उनका खुद अपने स्वयं का इंट्रोडक्शन वो खुद ही देती रहती हैं हर समय, तो मैं उनके बारे में क्या कौन होता हूँ बोलने वाला। लेकिन इन लोगों का तो पूरा ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड जो है वो डिसइंटीग्रेशन का है, फ्रेगमेंटेशन का है। ये जब से हम जब से भारत को आज़ादी मिली है, देखिए प्रॉब्लम ये है कि दो जगह पर चीज़ें डिवाइड हो गई। एक वो लोग जो भारत की इंटेग्रिटी के लिए लड़ते रहे हमेशा और आज भी लड़ रहे हैं, और एक वो लोग हैं जो देखना ही नहीं चाहते। उनको इस बात पे भी अफसोस था कि हैदराबाद कैसे भारत में मिल गया। ये लगातार सेपरेटिज्म और अब टेररिज्म, ये इनका जो ग्रेजुएशन हुआ है उसमें मुफ्ती जी उसकी बड़ी लीडर हैं और उनके बयान मुझे आजकल बिल्कुल भी अचंभित नहीं करते हैं। मैं तो बल्कि सोच रहा था कि कैसे इस बात को कि जो आपने देखा होगा जो कश्मीर में जो धीरे धीरे बीच बीच में जो ये हिंदूज की किलिंग्स हो रही हैं, एक बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग थ्योरी जो कश्मीर में चल रही है कि कहीं इसके पीछे एक पॉलिटिकल कॉन्स्पिरेसी तो नहीं है। मैं चाहता हूँ उसके बारे में अगर मुफ्ती जी जवाब दें और लोगों को बताएं कि नहीं, उससे उन लोगों का कोई भी लेना देना नहीं है और उसको कंडेम करें। आई थिंक दैट वुड डेफिनेटली गिव मी मोर, उससे शायद उनकी क्रेडिबिलिटी थोड़ी बढ़े।
मैं ये भी पूछना चाहती हूँ कि ओवैसी साहब कहते हैं कि गवर्नमेंट ने कश्मीर फाइल को प्रमोट किया और उन्होंने कश्मीरी पंडितों का एक तरह से इस्तेमाल किया अपनी वोट बैंक पॉलिटिक्स के लिए। अब कश्मीरी पंडित वहां पर ढूंढ ढूंढ कर ठोके जा रहे हैं। कश्मीर फाइल्स एक कारण है जिसकी वजह से कश्मीरी पंडित अब टारगेट हो रहे हैं, कश्मीरी हिंदू टारगेट हो रहे हैं। इस पर आप क्या कहेंगे? क्योंकि कश्मीर फाइल्स जिस जज्बे से आपने बनाई है और जितना उसको सपोर्ट मिला है उसी पर सवालिया निशान।
नहीं, देखिए अब ओवैसी साहब तो पॉलिटिक्स में उनका तो फर्ज बनता है, उनका वोट बैंक ही यही है तो उन्हें तो ये कहना है। लेकिन हम 4 साल से फिल्म बना रहे थे और कितने स्ट्रगल सेक्रीफाइस से हमने अगर फिल्म बनाई। अगर गवर्नमेंट का सपोर्ट होता तो क्या प्रॉब्लम था? अगर गवर्नमेंट का सपोर्ट होता तो थिएटर्स भी हमें खूब मिलते। फिल्म तो हम पिछले 6-7 महीने से पूरी दुनिया में दिखा रहे थे, तब तो कोई गवर्नमेंट नहीं थी। और फिल्में अगर गवर्नमेंट के कहने से अगर चलती तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी जी की फिल्म भी चलनी चाहिए थी, पृथ्वीराज भी चलनी चाहिए थी, और इसके अलावा कितनी फिल्में साउथ में भी बनी हैं जो बहुत ही नेशनलिस्टिक सब्जेक्ट्स की हैं, लेकिन वो नहीं चली। फिल्में कभी इन कारणों से चलती नहीं है कि कौन उसे सपोर्ट कर रहा है कौन नहीं कर रहा है, बिकॉज इट्स योर इंडिविजुअल चॉइस। तो मेरे ख्याल से ये जो अवेयरनेस कश्मीर फाइल्स ने क्रिएट की है डिप्लोमेटिकली, आई थिंक इट्स अ वेरी गुड साइन।
लेकिन इस अवेयरनेस की वजह से बाकी लोगों की जो बॉयकॉट की कॉल्स होने लग गई हैं, जैसे अभी हाल ही की फिल्म थी लाल सिंह चड्ढा, बॉयकॉट की कॉल्स आने लगी, ट्रेंडिंग ये स्टेटमेंट्स हो गए पूरे सोशल मीडिया में, और फिल्म नहीं चली। तो क्या क्योंकि ऐसा माहौल बनाया गया था कि क्योंकि आमिर खान की फिल्म है और उन्होंने कुछ ऐसे पॉलिटिकली सेंसिटिव पोजीशंस लिए हैं इन द पास्ट, चाहे वो इंडिया इज नॉट सेफ फॉर अस एनी मोर एंड यू नो अदर स्टेटमेंट्स दैट ही हैज मेड, क्या आपको लगता है इस वजह से लाल सिंह चड्ढा शायद उतनी कामयाब नहीं हुई?
नहीं, तो दंगल के वक्त भी तो बॉयकॉट के कॉल्स आए थे और दंगल के ही पहले शायद आमिर खान साहब ने वो स्टेटमेंट दिया था जिससे सब लोग नाराज हुए थे भारत छोड़ने का। तो पर दंगल तो बिकेम द बिगेस्ट हिट, उसको तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुआ। और जहां तक ये बॉयकॉट की बात है, ये पूरा ब्लेम ऑडियंस पे डाल देना ये बिल्कुल पूरी तरह से गलत है। ये बॉयकॉट तो हमेशा से होता आ रहा है बॉलीवुड में। बॉलीवुड के जो लोग करता धरता है, जो उसको चलाते हैं, जो जमींदार हैं यहाँ के, ये लोग तो टैलेंट को, मूवीज को, पॉलिटिशियंस को, लीडर्स को, सबको बॉयकॉट करते ही आए हैं। ये तो बहुत बॉयकॉट करते हैं। चैंपियनशिप तो बॉयकॉट की इन्हीं लोगों के पास है, डी प्लेटफॉर्म करना, लोगों को कैंसिल करना, ये तो काम यही लोग करते रहते हैं। आपको भी किया होगा शायद 1-2 बार कुछ इस तरह से। तो इनको तो पहली बात कोई हक ही नहीं है शिकायत करने का। मेरी तो जितनी बुद्धा है ना ट्रैफिक जैम तो पूरी तरह से इन्हें बॉयकॉट कर दी थी। ताशकंद फाइल्स को तो क्रिटिक लोगों ने बॉयकॉट कर दिया था, उसके बाद थिएटर वालों ने कर दिया था। कश्मीर फाइल्स को तो अभी तक ये कैंपेन चला रहे हैं उसके अगेंस्ट। तो इसमें तो ये लोग एक्सपर्ट हैं, इनको समझना चाहिए। पर हाँ, ये बहुत सीरियस मुद्दा है और मैं इसको काफ़ी गंभीरता से लेता हूँ। मेरे ख्याल से जो ये बॉयकॉट है, ये एक लोगों का गुस्सा है जो बॉलीवुड के स्टार्स की एक जो एरोगेंस है, कुछ डायरेक्टर्स की, प्रोड्यूसर्स की और स्टार्स की जो एक एरोगेंस है, जो घमंड है, और दूसरा जो एक आम आदमी, मिडिल क्लास हिंदुस्तानी व्यक्ति जो है, उससे जो डिस्कनेक्ट इनका हो गया है। मैं एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात आपको बताता हूं। ये मुझे एक किसी मिडिल क्लास फैमिली ने कानपुर में बोला था। उन्होंने मुझसे बोला, भैया जब ये कोविड चल रहा था, हम लोग सारे बच्चे भी आ गए थे घर में, छोटा सा घर है, गर्मी थी, पावर कट भी होता था, मच्छर काटते थे, आगे कोई भविष्य नहीं था, अंधकार था, उस वक्त में ये सारे जो लोग थे बॉलीवुड के, ये नाच गाने के वीडियो बनाते थे, अपने 500 जूते मेरे पास वो वीडियोस बनाते थे, मॉलडीव्स में जाके ये लोग पार्टी कर रहे थे। तो हमको ऐसा लगने लगा हमने क्या ये कोविड हमारे लिए है, क्या हम ही मरने के लिए बने? ये एक बात जेन्युइन क्वेश्चन है और मेरे ख्याल से बॉलीवुड के लोगों को इसमें इंट्रोस्पेक्ट करना चाहिए। कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं है कि जिस तरह की एक फ्लैशी फ्लैम्बॉयंट लाइफस्टाइल आपने इतनी ज्यादा गैप क्रिएट कर दिया है कि भारत का जो आम आदमी उसको लगता है कि आप उसकी गरीबी पे हंस रहे हैं।
आपने कहा बॉलीवुड के ओनर, जमींदार, किसकी तरफ इशारा है?
जो लोग लोगों को प्रभावित करते हैं, जिनको सबसे अधिक पैसा और प्यार भी लोग देते हैं, वो इन्हीं लोगों की मैं बात कर रहा हूं। कोई ऐसी बहुत बड़ी बात नहीं है, सब जानते हैं, 5, 6, 7, 8 नाम है, ज्यादा नहीं है इसमें। तो वो लोग राजा हैं, हम सब लोग तो
डरते नहीं।
जैसा अमिताभ बच्चन साहब ने एक बार कहा था, मैं नहीं, पहले मैं भी थोड़ा सा घबराता था जब मैं बॉलीवुड का पार्ट था, फिर मैंने एक दिन मेंटली बॉलीवुड से रिजाइन किया, तो अब मैं स्वतंत्र हूं, अब मैं इंडिपेंडेंट फिल्म मेकर हूं, तो मुझे कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है। और मुझे ऐसा भी लगा कि ये सारे लोग हर समय कहते हैं कि हमारी डिसेंट की रिस्पेक्ट करो, और हम डिसेंट कर रहे हैं जब ये मोदी जी को गाली देते हैं या हिंदुओं को कुछ बोलते हैं, कहते हैं चूंकि हिंदूज जो है वो एस्टेब्लिशमेंट है तो हमारी डिसेंट है, इसलिए हम उनसे अगेंस्ट बोल रहे हैं, वी आर स्पीकिंग ट्रूथ टू पावर। मेरा सवाल ये उठता है इन्हीं लोगों से कि बॉलीवुड में जो इतना करप्शन, घोर करप्शन, एक मॉरल मतलब एक टोटल मॉरल डिके जो है, उसके अगेंस्ट कभी कोई आवाज, जो एक्सप्लॉइटेशन है, ऑप्रेशन है जो बाकी लोगों का, उसके खिलाफ तो कभी कोई नहीं बोलता। उसके सामने तो सब सरेंडर करके नतमस्तक हो जाते हैं, और बाहर आके दुनिया में जब बोलते हैं कि वी आर स्टैंडिंग अगेंस्ट द पावर, तो आपको लगता है कि भारत का आम आदमी क्या इतना मूर्ख है कि वो इस हिपोक्रेसी को देख नहीं सकता है? तो पीपल हैव सीन थ्रू एंड नाउ पीपल आर सेइंग यू गिव अस गुड कंटेंट, तभी हम देखेंगे। आप हमको अब ये पैकेजिंग कर करके दिवाली रिलीज, ईद रिलीज और इसकी फिल्म और उसकी फिल्म, आप हमको बेवकूफ नहीं बना सकते हैं। दिस इज द वर्डिक्ट। मैं कुछ छुपा छुपू के बात नहीं करना चाहता हूं। सारी लड़ाई की जो जड़ है वो है CAA से, ये सारी बात चालू होती है। CAA के वक्त में और JNU के वक्त में भी जब वो कन्हैया केस हुआ था, तब भी इन लोगों ने आम जनता का जो कि CA के साथ जुड़ी थी उसको क्या क्या नहीं बोला है, किस तरह से उसकी खिल्ली नहीं उड़ाई, मजाक नहीं उड़ाया। और कोई भी जो आदमी या तो हिंदू इंटरेस्ट की बात करता है या मोदी जी को सपोर्ट करता है, उस आदमी को ये लोग पब्लिकली इतना रिडिक्यूल करते हैं कि आप कल्पना नहीं कर सकती हैं इस बात की। और उसमें सिर्फ ये आम आदमी को नहीं करते हैं, ये हर किसी को करते हैं। ये इनका एक फेवरेट स्पोर्ट रहा है। लेकिन जब हिंदू हित की या भारत हित की बात आती है, या जब मोदी जी कोई अच्छा काम करते हैं, जैसे वैक्सीन के बारे में, ये वैक्सीन कैसे हमने क्रिएट की, चूंकि मैं उसमें रिसर्च कर रहा हूं इसलिए मैं थोड़ा सा अथॉरिटी से कह सकता हूं, जिस दिन लोगों को ये कहानी पता चल जाएगी कि ये वैक्सीन वर्ल्ड में फास्टेस्ट टाइम में, कम से कम पैसे में और सबसे ज्यादा इफेक्टिव कैसे बनी, और किस तरह से भारत की फोर्सेस, जिनमें कई बॉलीवुड के लोग भी इन्वॉल्व थे, किस तरह से बाहर की वैक्सीन्स की लॉबिंग इंडिया में करके उसको सैबोटाज कर रहे थे, मैं आप आश्चर्यचकित रह जाएंगी। ऑल क्रेडिट गोज टू आवर साइंटिस्ट नंबर 1 एंड द लीडरशिप ऑफ मोदी जी। एक शब्द इन लोगों ने नहीं बोला, किसी ने उसकी तारीफ नहीं करी। इनकी ये सब 3-3, 4-4 वैक्सीन लगा के ये लोग अपने घर में शूटिंग कर रहे हैं, आज खुश हैं, पर कभी किसी ने पब्लिकली इस बात को एक्नॉलेज नहीं किया। लेकिन जब वो चिताएं जल रही थीं, जब ये क्वेश्चंस उठ रहे थे कि वैक्सीन बनेगी कि नहीं बनेगी, तो हर कोई उसमें कंट्रीब्यूट करके एक वैक्सीन हेजिटेंसी क्रिएट कर रहा था, लोगों के दिमाग में फियर क्रिएट कर रहा था। कई लोगों ने तो इनडायरेक्टली ये भी बोला था कि इफ द मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी डजंट वांट वैक्सीन देन गवर्नमेंट इज नोबडी टू फोर्स देम टू टेक इट। नोबडी फोर्स्ड इट, मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी ने खुद अपने आप लगवाई उसको, क्योंकि सबको जान की चिंता थी।
विवेक अग्निहोत्री जी, सवाल सीधा है, क्या ये देश हिंदू मुसलमान में बटा हुआ था या बांटा जा रहा है? नॉर्थ साउथ में बटा हुआ है या बांटा जा रहा है? या अब आपके फॉर्मूले से अगर मैं देखूं तो प्रो मोदी और एंटी मोदी बस 2 ही मजहब हैं इस देश में। आप क्या समझते हैं, कैसे आज इस देश को लोग डिफाइन कर रहे हैं?
नहीं, अब बंटने की बात तो 1947 में सेटल हो गई थी, जब भारत का बंटवारा ही कर दिया गया था हिंदू मुस्लिम के आधार पे। और अगर आप देखें तो जो खिलाफत का मूवमेंट चालू हुआ था 1921 में, मोपला राइट्स हुए, उसके बाद डायरेक्ट एक्शन डे हुआ, वो सिलसिला कभी खत्म ही नहीं हुआ। लगातार भारत के 70 साल का जो इतिहास अगर देखें आप, तो उसमें सिर्फ हिंदू मुस्लिम राइट्स कभी इधर कभी उधर कहीं ना कहीं होते ही रहे। उसका कारण ये था कि हम लोगों ने मुस्लिम्स को अलग तरह से ट्रीट किया, हिंदूज को अलग तरह से ट्रीट किया। अगर माइनॉरिटीज का इशू होता इस देश के अंदर, जैसा लोग कहना चाहते हैं दुनिया में, तो फिर ये तो प्रॉब्लम सिख, जैन, पारसी हर किसी के साथ होता, उन लोग के साथ नहीं है। तो मतलब ये सारा प्रॉब्लम सिर्फ हिंदू और मुस्लिम पे बेस्ड है। मेरा ऐसा पर्सनली मानना है, जब तक इस देश में हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन और हमारा जो संविधान और जो सिस्टम है, व्यवस्था है, जब तक वी विल टॉक इन टर्म्स ऑफ मेजॉरिटी एंड माइनॉरिटी बिटवीन हिंदूज एंड मुस्लिम्स, ये प्रॉब्लम कभी खत्म नहीं होगा। क्योंकि आपने ही एक डिवीजन क्रिएट कर दिया है कि भाई दो अलग तरह के लोग हैं, जबकि ऐसा नहीं है। आम दिनचर्या में तो हम सब एक दूसरे के साथ इंटरेक्ट करते हैं। आई थिंक जहां पे 15 से 18-20 करोड़, आई डोंट नो व्हाट्स द एग्जैक्ट नंबर नाउ, इतनी पॉपुलेशन है, उन सबके लिए एक ही कायदा, कानून, सब कुछ एक ही होना चाहिए। ऐसा थोड़ी है कि आप एक को अपीज करें, दूसरे की बैशिंग करें। दूसरा क्या हो गया कि जो सेकुलरिज्म था इस कंट्री में, जिसमें बॉलीवुड ने भी बहुत बड़ा गेम खेला है, सेकुलरिज्म को डिफाइन कर दिया गया मुस्लिम अपीजमेंट एंड हिंदू बैशिंग। अब ये हम लोग, हमारी जो जनरेशन थी, मेरे माँ बाप की जो जनरेशन थी, उनने तो टॉलरेट कर लिया, लेकिन आज जो बच्चे ग्लोबली अवेयर हैं, जिनके हाथ में 2-2, 3-3 डिवाइसेस हैं, सोशल मीडिया में एक्टिव हैं, दे आर असर्टिंग देमसेल्व्स। ये बॉयकॉट आपको क्या लगता है ये बड़ी उम्र के लोग कर रहे हैं? तो सारे यंग बच्चे कर रहे हैं, जो इनके फैन थे, आज वही लोग इनको बॉयकॉट कर रहे हैं।
विवेक अग्निहोत्री जी, आई वांट टू आस्क यू, आप कह रहे हैं कि डिविजन्स नहीं है, तो ये बॉलीवुड वर्सेस साउथ है, दिस इज पार्ट ऑफ अ कॉन्वर्सेशन, इस तरह की बातें चल रही हैं। और अभी आपके कॉलीग हैं फिल्म इंडस्ट्री से, अनुराग कश्यप जी, जिन्होंने कहा है कि इस बार ऑस्कर में एंट्रीज होगी, पर मैं उम्मीद करता हूं आरआरआर जाए ऑस्कर्स में, कश्मीर फाइल्स ना चली जाए। अब उस पर आपने ट्वीट जरूर किया है, पर खुलकर आपने नहीं बोला है। मैं पूछना चाहती हूं, is this also stigmatization, or is this really talking about the quality of a winnable movie at the Oscars?
अब मैं व्यक्ति विशेष की बात नहीं करूंगा, लेकिन जब भी कहीं आग लगती है तो मुझे ये तो पता रहता है कि माचिस किसके घर से आई है। तो लेकिन आप मुझे एक बात बताइए कि कोई भी ये विश करे कि कोई फिल्म जाए, जैसे मेरा बड़ा मन है कि रॉकेटरी जाए।
करूंगी विवेक अग्निहोत्री, आई डोंट नो दिस न्यू विवेक अग्निहोत्री, जो आज बार-बार डिप्लोमेटिकली कह रहा है मैं किसी व्यक्ति विशेष की बात नहीं करूंगा।
नाविका डोंट डू दिस, नाविका डोंट डू दिस।
नो, बिकॉज़ अनुराग कश्यप
प्लीज ऐसा
ऑन हिज नेम हैज ट्वीटेड। आई एम आस्किंग यू अ पॉइंटेड क्वेश्चन।
तो मैं,
ये माचिस की तिल्ली कहां से आई?
मैं आपको बताता हूं, मैं ऐसा नहीं, मैं कुछ अवॉइड कर रहा हूं। ये माचिस की तीली बहुत दिनों से एक्चुअली आग जला रही थी, लोगों ने अभी नोटिस किया है। तो मैं आपको बताता हूं मैंने क्यों अनुराग कश्यप के उस पर ट्वीट किया, क्योंकि मैं पैशनेटली फिल्में बनाता हूं अपनी, बहुत हम सेक्रीफाइस भी करते हैं उसके लिए, और उतने ही पैशनेटली मैं अपनी फिल्मों को प्रोटेक्ट भी कर सकता हूं। देखिए, मैं चाहता हूं जैसे रॉकेटरी जाए उसमें, पर इसका मतलब ये थोड़ी है कि मैं ये बोलने लगूं कि दूसरी फिल्म नहीं जानी चाहिए। क्यों नहीं जानी चाहिए? अच्छा, मैं कश्यप साहब से ही जानना चाहता हूं, कश्मीर फाइल्स क्यों नहीं जानना चाहिए? क्या आपको लगता है वो जाएगी तो लोगों को पता चल जाएगा कि हिंदू भी विक्टिम होता है? कश्मीर का जो झूठा नैरेटिव आपने इतने सालों से क्रिएट किया था, क्या वो एस्टेब्लिश हो जाएगा? आपका झूठ एक्सपोज हो जाएगा? आपको किस चीज़ का डर है? हाँ, अगर वो बोलें कि ये फिल्म इसलिए नहीं जानी चाहिए कि मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि इसका कैमरा वर्क अच्छा नहीं है या इसकी एडिटिंग अच्छी नहीं है, मैं समझ सकता हूं। लेकिन आपने सिर्फ कश्मीर फाइल्स को क्यों पिन पॉइंट किया? What is the reason? It's one of the highest viewed film, हिंदी फिल्म, it's an all time blockbuster। आप ये कहना चाह रहे हैं कि वो सब लोग जो हैं उनकी ओपिनियन, उनका टेस्ट, उनकी लाइकिंग कुछ मैटर ही नहीं करती है? और आपको किसने अथॉरिटी दी? आप ना तो जज हैं ना ज्यूरी हैं, और ज्यूरी तो अभी बैठी भी नहीं है, मार्च में होते हैं ऑस्कर्स। आपने अभी से कैंपेन चला दी, और उसके बाद आपके जो पीआर था अपनी फिल्म को प्रमोट करने में, अपने ही स्टेटमेंट को आपने सारे न्यूज़पेपर्स और सब जगह चलवा दिया। व्हेन इट स्टार्टेड गेटिंग वायरल, मैंने तो ट्रेंडिंग में देखा, जब वायरल होने लगा, देन आई रिएक्टेड टू इट, क्योंकि ये गलत प्रथा है। कल को फिर क्या होगा कि ज्यूरी इंडिपेंडेंट नहीं रहेगी और आप उसको बायस करेंगे और इसको लेकर हर समय एक विवाद खड़ा करेंगे। तो आई थिंक इट वॉज moral bankruptcy, that's why they said that, with a political agenda, definite political agenda। और ये लोग हैं जो अपनी मोदी हेट को एक फिल्म के ऊपर उतारना चाहते हैं, हिंदू फोबिया को एक फिल्म के ऊपर उतारना चाहते हैं। That is all I would like to say at this moment।
माचिस की तिल्ली आई कहां से?
माचिस की तीली यही जो एक कम्युनिस्ट लॉबी, कम्युनिस्ट तो नहीं बोलूंगा, यानी वो कम्युनिस्ट भी नहीं है तो कम्युनिस्ट होते बोलता मैं, जिनको अर्बन नक्सल्स होते हैं कि बड़ी स्ट्रांग लॉबी है, जो आप देखिए हर समय एंटी हिंदू सब्जेक्ट्स पे खुल के बोलते हैं। ये राम जन्मभूमि के अगेंस्ट थे, ये CA में खड़े रहे, शाहीन बाग गए, ये लोग जो फैक्ट चेकर्स हैं उनके सपोर्ट में खड़े होते हैं, घर घर तिरंगा के अगेंस्ट ये कैंपेन चलाते हैं, ये हमेशा लगातार हिंदू साधु संतों का मजाक उड़ाते हैं अपनी फिल्मों में भी, और इसीलिए ये कश्मीर फाइल्स के अगेंस्ट खड़े हुए हैं। तो ये जो हमेशा बात करते हैं एम्पैथी की, ह्यूमन राइट्स की, ये एक ढकोसला है, ये झूठ है। और देखिए मेरे को कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता, मैं तो इनसे बाहर हूं, मैं इन पर डिपेंड भी नहीं करता हूं, लेकिन आम आदमी है सीन थ्रू, आम आदमी को ये बात पता चल गई है कि ये लोग इतने हिपोक्रेट हैं, और इसलिए आम आदमी इनके फिल्मों के टिकट्स नहीं खरीद रहा है।
तो Bollywood films are failing because of the arrogance of the so-called popular brands of Bollywood?
या जब एरोगेंस आ जाती है आदमी को बहुत ज़्यादा, तो वो फिर वो केयर नहीं करता है, वो उसे लगता है मैं खुदा हूँ, मैं गॉड हूँ, मैं भगवान हूँ, मैं कुछ भी कर सकता हूँ, लोग मेरे लिए मरे जा रहे हैं। एक ये प्रॉब्लम हुआ। दूसरा क्या, देखिए 3 लेवल पे ये प्रॉब्लम है। दूसरा क्या प्रॉब्लम हुआ, OTT की प्राइसिंग। जो ये फॉरेन की जो अमेरिकन कंपनीज आई, इनने OTT में इतना ज़्यादा पैसा स्टार बेस्ड फिल्म्स को देना चालू कर दिया, और जो ब्रांड्स थे उनने इतना ज़्यादा कि ये 4-5 साल में एक फिल्म करते हैं, बाकी टाइम दे अर्न मिलियंस ऑफ रुपीज फ्रॉम दीज थिंग्स। तो इनको ये लगा कि अरे थिएटर हु केयर्स, मैं PR में और मार्केटिंग में बहुत पैसा खर्च करता हूँ, लोग तो मैं भगवान हूँ, आएंगे ही देखने, और OTT से तो मैं सेफ हो जाता हूँ, और ब्रांडिंग से मुझे पैसा मिलता ही है। तो जब भी आप क्रिकेट हो चाहे फिल्म्स हो, आप देखिए जब आदमी अपना जो कोर बिजनेस है उसकी सिंसेरिटी को छोड़ के किसी और चीज में ध्यान देता है, तो उसके जो ग्राहक होते हैं वो भी सतर्क हो जाते हैं।
But I want to ask you, many people may point a finger at you and also say कि आपको आज के दौर में कुछ गलत नजर ही नहीं आता, तो शायद आप फेक हैं, आपको फैक्ट चेक करने की जरूरत है। ये क्रिटिक्स जो आपके बारे में बोलेंगे, क्यों वो कहेंगे नहीं है कि क्या आप बिल्कुल, आपको आज के इंडिया में कुछ भी गलत नहीं नजर आता, तब आप उनको क्या जवाब दें?
देखिए इंडिया में बहुत सारी गलतियां हैं, ऐसा नहीं, मैं तो हमेशा बोलता हूं इंडिया का सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है एफिशिएंसी, इंडिया का प्रॉब्लम प्रोडक्टिविटी, इंडिया का प्रॉब्लम है एक प्रोफेशनलिज्म टुवर्ड्स वर्क एंड ऑल। मैं इस पे बहुत लेक्चर्स देता हूं, बड़े यूट्यूब में मेरे पढ़े, मैं लेकिन फोकस मैंने अपने लिए कुछ चीजें, यस सर, ऑफ कोर्स, बट मैंने ये कई बार बोला और मैं फिर से बोल रहा हूं, मैं मोदी जी को सपोर्ट करता हूं, और आई लाइक हिज लीडरशिप एंड आई एम वेरी कॉन्फिडेंट ऑफ हिज लीडरशिप। और मैंने जब 2019 में भी शायद आपके यहाँ कहीं मैंने बोला भी था कि अगले 5 साल आई विल फॉलो मिस्टर मोदी एंड आई विल कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट, आई विल सपोर्ट इन हिज मिशन एंड आई विल कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट टू डूइंग दैट। तो मेरा तो एजेंडा एकदम क्लियर है, मेरे में कोई हिपोक्रेसी नहीं है।
वेल, सो एटलीस्ट we are getting the semantics right. विवेक अग्निहोत्री, you are always a pleasure to speak with, और ऐसा जब आप बात करते हैं तो ऐसा लगता है कि तमाम प्रॉब्लम्स देश की आज ही रिजॉल्व कर लें, हर मुद्दे पर बात कर ले, पर समय कम है। लेकिन कहना चाहूँगी कि आप जब दिल से बोलते हैं तो अच्छा बोलते हैं, जब नाम लेने से थोड़ा डिप्लोमेटिक हो जाते हैं तो शायद पब्लिक आपसे सवाल पूछने लगेगी, इसलिए नाम लिया करिए। आपकी बेबाकी ही आपकी पॉपुलैरिटी है, और इसे ज़रूर कायम रखिएगा।
थैंक यू वेरी मच नाविका जी,
थैंक यू फॉर जॉइनिंग मी, विवेक अग्निहोत्री, एंड प्रेजेंटिंग अनकट अनसेंसर्ड विवेक अग्निहोत्री।
Watching the News Hour at 9. Stay tuned.
You are on top of the world with Times Network. And you're watching Times Now.
for decision makers, for the opinionated, for the unsure, for dinner time debaters, from metro stations to living rooms.
We present the facts and help India make a judgment. From stories that shake the nation to opinions that shape them. I delve deep into the biggest news of the day and uncover every fact, every source, and every statement through debate and discussion. Get a 360-degree perspective on every story and get a conclusive closure. Join me, Navika Kumar, on the Newshour at 9, only on Times Now.
To commemorate 75 years of Indian independence, PM Modi launched Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. And yes, the campaign is exactly what it sounds like. Under this, the centre aims to see the tricolour hoisted atop more than 20 crore houses across the country. The aim of the campaign is to motivate each and every citizen of the country to bring the Tiranga home and to hoist it to mark Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Now, in order to make sure that Tiranga is within the reach of each and every citizen of this country, the centre had to make some amendments in the Flag Code 2002. Questioning the amendments, the Congress slammed the BJP and said that the amendments in the Flag Code were specially made to favour China. Later, Congress further alleged that centre is now trying to sell the national flag. But before we delve deeper into this, let's first have a look at the original Flag Code and the amendments made to it. The centre has amended certain rules of the Indian Flag Code 2002 to aid the launch of Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. The centre, in the first amendment, allowed the use of polyester apart from cotton, wool, silk and khadi for making the hand-spun, hand-woven and machine-made flags. Earlier, the use of polyester and machine-made flags was not allowed. The next amendment came on July 20th, which allowed the display of Tiranga in open and also said that it can be hoisted day and night. Earlier, the flag was allowed to be hoisted only from sunrise to sunset, irrespective of the weather conditions. The amendment made by the centre in December 2021, which allowed the use of machine-made and polyester flags, is being widely criticized by the Congress. The Congress accuses BJP of favouring China by allowing the imports of polyester. Besides the opposition, some khadi weavers and some activists have also protested against the amendment brought by the centre in the Flag Code 2002. The Karnataka Khadi Udyog, for instance, has halted its operations and have also demanded a nationwide protest. The idea behind Har Ghar Tiranga is to invoke the feeling of patriotism in the hearts of the people and to promote awareness about the national flag. The centre believes that by bringing the national flag home collectively, it will become symbolic of not only an act of personal connection to the Tiranga, but also an embodiment of our commitment to nation building. Even though the opposition has criticized Har Ghar Tiranga campaign to the core, the BJP, on the other hand, has stuck to its nationalism agenda. While a political slugfest ensued over the use of Tiranga, the people of the country are dipped in patriotic fervour to celebrate the day. Even as the campaign gets criticized, the idea and the main aim of the centre behind this campaign was to instill the patriotism in each and every citizen. And perhaps BJP did succeed in doing that.
In August last year, Taliban seized to power. They promised they have changed. They called themselves the Taliban 2.0. But what has changed? I'm being joined by a very renowned human rights activist, Zarifa Ghaffari. Thank you for speaking to Times Now, Zarifa.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Zarifa, let me begin by asking, Taliban call themselves the Taliban 2.0. How far do you see that the Taliban has changed?
I'm really curious to know about it, that whom they promise that they will change. Because if they exactly promise that they will be changed and someone got this promise from them, so that person needs to, or that team or that country or whoever it is, they need to come up nowadays and answer all the questions. So that's so clear. We knew from that starting that they will not change and they will never get that, because it's not just a war. It's not just terror. It's an ideology which they are carrying it, the same from that starting of their presence in Afghanistan. After the fall of Mujahideen, after the retook of Kabul by power in 90s, they had the same thing. They were the same people. And the same thing was happening that time as well. They was promising women rights and education and everything of women time to time, but it was just a promise. And all during the 7 or 6 years of their time, their governance in Afghanistan, they never agreed on what they promised.
So Zarifa, how do you describe the condition of women and young girls in the country right now?
In a country where women are able or allowed, not able, but are allowed legally, and unsocial wise, to sell their body parts, to sell their children, to sell their household, to sell their dreams, hopes, everything, but not able to study or work and earn some money legally and with honor to feed their family. So definitely that could be the worst happening to women. Nowadays, Afghanistan is the only one country around the world where girl child is not able to go to school, especially for secondary and higher education. So it shows clearly that how women are surviving life in a country where just your gender becomes a crime to stop you from all humanitarian rights. So definitely living in that country will cost you not only your life, but your dignity, your hope, emotions, and dreams.
Do you think there is a chance for change?
Actually, it's so clear. They have to change. They have to change. Not only starting from that small resistance or activities inside the country, but global wise, there is a big amount of resistance going on. There is previously, and in the history of Afghanistan, it was always men rising up and changing the situation. But this time we see it globally that there are women who are stepping up. Women of Afghanistan are not anymore women of 90s. So it's so clear that they have to change. Otherwise, they need to just give up.
You also recently visited Kabul, if I'm not wrong. How do you see the country has changed?
But just few days later, the closure of schools, and that also in a way that schools were open, girls were already inside school for 1 or 2 hours, and then suddenly Taliban are coming and kicking them out of their classes. So this is, this was that, climbing up into the top of a mountain and then without having anything in your hand to help you and support you, you fell down and you broke into pieces. So that happened not only to me, to everyone around the country and outside the country, for all Afghan citizens all around, especially for women.
action against this order or not. She has done enough. She has a right which is guaranteed under Article 21 for a right to life with dignity, with peace, freedom, everything. That right has to be guaranteed by the state. Be it state government, be it central government. Let the governments, they are major stakeholders in the criminal justice system. The criminal cases are fought by the government, by the state versus accused, state versus A, state versus B. It's not Bilkis versus A. So this is a case fought by CBI as a prosecuting agency. The governments have put in their money, time, labor, manpower, whatnot to fight out this case up to the last court. It is for them to protect that order. It is for them to ensure that the justice is done, and their citizen, Bilkis is one of their citizens, that she is living in a state of peace, sense of security, and she is not feeling dejected that justice is denied to her. Let state ensure that, let one of the state body go, either state government recall its decision, reconstitute a committee, because apparently it appears the committee members were not applying their brains properly, or they were either ill-informed or not properly applying mind to the facts of the case. Or let the central government challenge it. Let the CBI challenge it. Please go and ask, my request to you, please go and ask this question to the stakeholders, the major stakeholders. What are they planning? And I believe you, I am a firm believer in the system and the judicial system, our governments. I'm more than sure they must be planning to go and challenge it.
Well, absolutely, and that is why Bilkis also very specifically in her statement yesterday has said that the Gujarat government needs to undo this harm so that she is given her right to live without fear and in peace. As the citizen of our country, she deserves this. Thank you very much, ma'am, for having joined us.
Thank you.
But to even argue that the mitigating factor, let me open this up now, for granting this remission is somehow that they are Brahmins and they enjoy good sanskar. What does this even mean, Sri Raj Nair? Do their acts speak of good sanskar?
Well, well, I haven't heard this statement. If you're saying it, you have to ask the person who have given this kind of statement. We don't believe in any caste system. We believe in casteless Hindu society. As far as this matter is concerned, now
So even if we leave aside the caste, sir, let me actually spell out to you what is the context. Remission has been given. C.K. Rahul ji is the member of the remission panel. He was asked today by the Mojo Story, an online portal, what is the reason for giving this remission? He said, these men, we saw their conduct, they have good sanskar and they are Brahmins. Even if we leave aside the Brahmins for whatever God-forsaken reason he's brought this in, do their deeds speak of good sanskar because of which they should be granted remission?
See, I am in no position to say under what grounds they have been given, they have been freed. But at the same time, the fact remains, we have a very strong judicial system in this country. And I always say on your channel also, whether it is Kasab or whether it is Ajmal Kasab or whether it is Afzal Guru or the Khadins who raped young schoolgirls in Ajmer, they all have got a fair trial, and in case of Ajmer they were convicted and those rapists were roaming free. So we should not go in for a media trial. Now this particular committee has released them, and the concerned parties have a fair chance of going in for an appeal also. In this case, we don't want to go. We are not a party to go in for we don't want to be a party for a media trial.
So this is not a media trial.
Now the system has
very clearly, and as you just heard the lawyer for Bilkis Bano say, the case here is of the remission committee either not applying their mind or deliberately overlooking the gravity of the crime. Again, let's remember, these are not people who are accused. These are people who are convicts. And when I speak of gravity of crime, let me just quote to you. And this is, when you say media trial, they have undergone a court trial. And here is what the court said about these men. court trial. Bombay High Court, by the way, upheld the conviction and said accused were searching for Muslims. As soon as they saw Muslims, they pounced upon them, assaulted them and raped the women. From the clinching evidence placed before us, we are convinced that these people were in a mob on account of Godhra incident and was moving in search of victims. This is not a media trial. The Bombay High Court said this, that they pounced on their victims and they killed and raped them. 14 or 15 and a half years later, do they display sanskars that obliterates this judgment of the Bombay High Court, Mr. Nair?
Madam, for that only they have undergone more than 14 years rigorous imprisonment. And after that, they had the option of, and it was the Honorable Supreme Court which had said, which had sent the application back to the government of Gujarat. And after due process, they had all the right to be released. So now it's a process. We have to respect the judicial process.
Zina,
and if anybody, including all the parties, as we were listening to the Honorable...
Okay, hold on. Shiraz Nair says they have undergone rigorous imprisonment.
I beg your pardon?
Process has been followed. Then what is your problem? Zina Chaukat Ali.
Yeah.
Padmaja, it's so shocking and it's so shameful that this, this kind of an order, I feel, is very anti-woman. This is not Bilkis Bano, this is anti-woman. We fought so hard for Nirbhayas, the criminals and the murderers and the rapists to get the death sentence. And how many years I have personally invested and fought for this every minute of my life. And now we come to this woman who has been pregnant, she's raped, her small baby's head has been smashed, other people from our 7 other people from our family have been murdered. And what sanskars are we talking about? They were given a life imprisonment and now on the 15th of August of all the days, they have been set free. What kind of justice are we looking at? Please note that I'm cutting across. This is nothing to do with religion or minorities or majorities. I'm not talking about the people who are sitting on judgment. I'm not talking about the people. I'm simply talking about those who are releasing such criminals.
Rishi Malhotra wants to respond to you. Rishi Malhotra.
Yeah, I actually, just give me 5 minutes because I hope this is not an emotional debate, it's a legal debate. Because if the emotions were in place, then why this why? Of course, then let me complete in 5 minutes. Why so much of hue and cry now? Because it was a case where the High Court, on an appeal filed by the CBI, did not award death sentence, which order was upheld by Supreme Court. So at that juncture of time, there was no hue and cry that why in case like this, there was a death sentence awarded or not awarded by the Supreme Court or the High Court. But nevertheless, leave this apart. A man has been undergone more than 15 years of actual sentence. Supreme Court in May 2022 has reiterated a 20-year-old law which is consistent, which is that a policy which is existing at the time of conviction in the trial court, that has to be applied. In this case, the trial court convicted in the year 2008. At that time, the state of Gujarat policy of 1992 was applicable. That policy stipulated that a convict should undergo an actual sentence of 14 years before his case is considered for premature release. Now, I really fail to understand why so much of hue and cry, because the man has suffered a rigorous imprisonment of 15 years actual sentence. He has already suffered a conviction. He is not out in bail or he has not been released prematurely in 5 years or 6 years. He has undergone the entire sentence.
Sir, like
so why now
hue
and cry just because the man has been released pursuant to direction by the Supreme Court?
Based on the gravity of crime. And here the gravity of crime is far greater than the punishment that these men have suffered. But since you brought up a legality, let Arjun Shauran respond to you. Why the hue and cry? Arjun Shauran.
If the gravity of crime...
It's not like they're released in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Arjun Shauran.
Just a minute.
Any remission policy is subject to what the government of the day decides.
any policy may allow you to be considered, but the question is whether or not the committee or the government of the day has to release certain persons on a case-to-case basis. The policy my friend is talking about is a 92 policy that says you will have to be considered by a committee. Now the committee has to also apply its mind instead of saying they are Brahmins or for XYZ reasons. And they must understand 15 years is not life. Life as held by the Supreme Court in this case is for natural life. Entire life. These people are gang rapists, killers, murderers, and you say after 15 years, this is a gross arbitrary use of power. This decision must be withdrawn, and across the board, I think by the Gujarat
Let me ask you a straight question, Arjun Sharan, for the lay people. Does the remission committee have to grant remission? You can also look at a case and say, no, we don't want to grant them remission.
It's discretionary relief.
This is gross. This crime is gross. We refuse your remission. The committee can do that, right?
They can do that. This is a discretionary relief. Your only right is to be considered after a certain number of years.
So then answer this, Mr. Malhotra, that essentially it boils down to the discretion of the committee. What possibly were the mitigating factors that this committee saw in the behavior of these men that somehow outdid what they had done in 2002? What have they done in the last 15 years which somehow makes it better what they did in 2002?
No, let me answer this. You please don't confuse an issue of behavior post conviction and prior to a conviction. What the committee foresees is that if a person is in jail for a good amount of years, what was his behavior inside the jail for a good amount of 14 to 15 years?
But sir, you also have to consider the gravity of the crime.
Incident. Of
you
course,
cannot say a man who has murdered a 3.5-year-old girl in the last 18 years has shown impeccable behavior, has been, trimming bushes every morning, and somehow he is a changed man. You remember that in the case of Nirbhaya, this same civil society was against the release of the minor rapist. Despite the fact that him being a minor was being called a mitigating factor, the same civil society said it doesn't matter. He should be tried as an adult because of the gravity of crime. Now we're talking about the same gravity of crime, where a child has been killed, her mother has been raped while she was pregnant, her grandmother has been murdered, her uncles and grandfather has been murdered. Gravity of crime strips any level of mitigation that these men may have enjoyed.
That's why I began with this, that please don't mix emotional issues with legal issues. Even in Nirbhaya case, the most dreaded accused was juvenile. So what happened after 3 years? He was set free. So the law has to take its own course to a logical conclusion. So in this case also, a man has already undergone 15 years of actual sentence. There was no death sentence awarded by Supreme Court or by the High Court. There was no hue and colour at that stage.
You're making an emotional argument.
Mr. Malhotra is speaking the law in only one sense. It's one-sided understanding of the law. That is not how things work. He is absolutely right that they had to be considered. But saying that without looking at their case, what they did, you just pass an order for purely political or whatever reasons is perverse. The Supreme Court has said that you have to look at all facts, all mitigating circumstances, all circumstances against the person also. You have to look at the judgment which was passed. You have to see what crime was committed. And I am saying the civil society is not against remission in appropriate cases, but you have to exercise your power in a responsible, legal, constitutional way, not this way that you can't life sentences actually for life.
So how do you know that what has the committee decided? Nobody knows what has the committee decided.
We know for a fact they have let these 11 people off. We know for a fact they are being garlanded. They are being feted by their local authorities. So that is a decision which is being supported today by some of you. Unfortunately, that is a decision which has been backed.
And we know what the committee has decided because the committee member is speaking and he is saying, among other things, even if we leave aside that facile argument about sanskars, he is saying, well, there may be a possibility that somebody is framed in these communal cases. This person does not enjoy any past criminal record. We spoke to the jailer, he had no ill to speak of it. This is the consideration from the horse's mouth. Where are we in any doubt? And this reasoning, if it is being given by a member of the panel, what happens next? What should happen next, Zeenat Shaukat Ali? It's bad enough that this has happened, but the considerations being offered are even more problematic. What should be done next? What do you think as an activist and a woman?
I think this entire thing has to be reviewed by, the judicial. It has to be withdrawn. This is shameful for our democracy. It is unbecoming for women, and it has to be withdrawn completely. If it is a lifetime sentence, and now after the empire there is a death sentence, I think we have to consider that sentence and not let them off. The gravity of the crime is extremely serious. And to let go and to allow, a judgment. It could be, the group that got together and made this remission, they not have thought deeply enough. All their entire thinking was on the wrong tracks. Now, whatever that may be, for now, I think this entire thing has to be withdrawn, the case, and it has to be relooked into, and the punishment that is due to these people. There is no sanskar in murderers.
Yeah.
When they murdered and they raped and they ruined a woman's life, a pregnant woman, bashed a 3-year-old daughter.
And this is not an exception that is being sought for only one case. Think of the kind of precedent, and a very dangerous one, that this can set for any such future cases. This will be utilized perhaps by other states for their own convenience. And that will be a bottomless pit which will be racing towards. Let's hope better sense prevails. All eyes on you, the government of Gujarat. Thanks very much, all gentlemen. Zeenat Shaukat Ali for joining me. For the first time since the abrogation of Article 370, the electoral rolls of Kashmir are being updated to give voting rights to all adults who reside in the Union Territory, bringing it at par with every other state in India. What this means is that people from other parts of India who are living in the valley will also be eligible to exercise their right to vote. But now, 25 lakh Indians who've been living and working in Kashmir are being told that they cannot vote in the state because they are outsiders. Yes, outsiders in their own country.
वसूख से कहता हूं, और मैं अपने साथियों को, सारी पार्टियों को कहूंगा कि इस सिस्टम को रोको, नहीं तो आपको ये जो यूपी और बिहार के लोग जो हैं ये खा जाएंगे। यहां क्राइम पहले ही बढ़ रहा है, रोज नया नया क्राइम मतलब वजूद में आ रहा है।
This is the last nail in the coffin of electoral democracy here. जम्मू कश्मीर एक लेबोरेटरी बन चुका है बीजेपी के लिए। यहाँ वो तजुर्बा करते हैं, उसके बाद बाहर जाके उसको अप्लाई करते हैं। और जितना भी जो भी कुछ जम्मू कश्मीर में हो रहा है, ये इस फसाद में हो रहा है कि हम जम्मू कश्मीर को मुख्य धारा का हिस्सा बनाना चाहते हैं, हम इसका इंटीग्रेशन करना चाहते हैं कंट्री के साथ।
We sincerely hope that the Chief Election Commissioner of Leh Ladakh is working to establish free and fair elections in J&K rather than cementing or ensuring hike in number of voters for one particular party.
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Bakar Bhatti, political analyst, joins us along with Advocate Neelafar, leader of the National Conference, Mohit Bhan, spokesperson of the PDP. My first question is to you, Kavinder Gupta, former Deputy Chief Minister of the BJP. क्या आप डेमोग्राफिक चेंज करके इलेक्शंस को अपने फेवर में पहले से ही फिक्स करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं? ये आपके ऊपर चार्ज लगा है।
देखिए, नंबर 1 तो इनको ये पता लगना चाहिए कि धारा 370 खत्म हो चुकी है। धारा 370 के कारण से इन लोगों ने 70 साल वेस्ट पाकिस्तान रेफ्यूजीज को वोटिंग राइट नहीं दिया, और जो हमारा वाल्मीकि समाज था उसको वोटिंग राइट नहीं दिया। इसके बाद जो गोरखाज जो महाराजा हरि सिंह की सेना में आए थे उनको वोटिंग राइट नहीं दिया, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, ये लोग इन्होंने रीसेटलमेंट बिल 1996 में पास किया था, जिसके तहत पाकिस्तान के लोग जो 1947 में यहाँ से चले गए हैं उनको दोबारा आकर के जम्मू कश्मीर में बसाना। दूसरा, तीसरी डेमोग्राफिक चेंज की बात कर रहा हूँ। 6 लाख कश्मीरी पंडितों को वैली से वहाँ पर किस तरह से माइग्रेशन करनी पड़ी, ये इन लोगों की नालायकी का कारण था। ये सब चीज़ें सोच करके आप खुद समझ सकते हैं कि माइग्रेशन या डेमोग्राफिक चेंज कौन करवाना चाहता है। जम्मू कश्मीर में जो लोग ऑलरेडी, चाहे वो हमारे सुरक्षा बल हैं, जम्मू कश्मीर में वो लोग जो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉइज है यहाँ पर अपनी सर्विसेज दे रहे हैं, स्किल्ड लेबर जो यहाँ पर आकर के हमारी फैक्ट्रीज में या दूसरे सूबों में काम करती है, क्या भारत के संविधान ने उनको ये राइट नहीं दिया है वोट डालने का? इसलिए जरूरी है कि उन लोगों को जो 70 साल इनके साथ गलत होता रहा, नाजायज होता रहा, अब वो होने वाला नहीं है। भारत के संविधान ने इनको राइट दिया है जो जहां भी कोई व्यक्ति रहता होगा,
पूरे देश में ऐसा ही होता है, अब जम्मू कश्मीर में भी हो रहा है। व्हाट्स द प्रॉब्लम?
जी पद्मजा जी, देखिए पूरे देश में ऐसा नहीं होता। कविंदर गुप्ता जी एक बड़े सीनियर लीडर हैं, डिप्टी चीफ मिनिस्टर रहे हैं। इनकी जुबान से ऐसी बातें सुनकर, ऐसी चीजें सुन के मैं ही बड़ा असमंजस में हूं कि ये ऐसे कैसे बोल सकते हैं कि कोई वर्कर को हम बुला लेंगे महाराष्ट्र से, यहाँ काम कर रहा है और यहाँ पे वोट डाल दें। देखिए देयर आर क्लियरली एस्टैब्लिश्ड लॉज, रूल्स।
बुलाएंगे नहीं, जो ऑलरेडी रहते हैं, जो ऑलरेडी वर्किंग इन जम्मू एंड कश्मीर।
कविंदर साहब बात सुन लीजिए, आप बात सुन लीजिए, आप बात सुन लीजिए। इलेक्शन, listen, Mr. Gupta. The election commissioner yesterday said anybody who is ordinarily living in Jammu and Kashmir will be allowed to vote. That means that anybody जो 10 दिन भी 15 दिन भी यहाँ पर आकर रह रहा है या 1 महीने से यहाँ पे रह रहा है, आप उसको वोटिंग राइट दे देंगे।
No, sir, there are very set down rules. So let me tell, and I'm sure you know this already, but for the benefit of our viewers, here is what the rules state.
No.
You can only be enrolled at the place of your residence, not in a different place from where you are currently staying. You have to fill Form 8A that allows you to shift from one place of residence to another place of residence within the same constituency. A person cannot vote in his or her native place just because of owning a house. Migrants have to register themselves at a place where they reside. Only that you need to have lived at that address for 6 months to register to vote at that address. I don't belong to Delhi.
That is not what.
There are hundreds of people who don't belong to Delhi. They also come from UP, from Bihar, from Karnataka, from Tamil Nadu. They vote in Delhi because they've lived for 6 months and above.
Okay, so the chief election commissioner should come out with a clarification. They should come out with a press release and establish clearly what the law is. He cannot just randomly come on air and say 25 lakh new voters we will register and anybody ordinarily living in Jammu and Kashmir will be given the vote.
So you are just waiting for a clarification. Now, if this is the rule that somebody who has been staying for 6 months and above is the one being enrolled, you are on board with this decision, right?
That's just a second. The another thing is that what they are trying to experiment here is that they are going to establish this 25 lakh new voters here, the mobile voters here, and tomorrow for even if for 6 months that person is living here and then he shifts his residence from this place to Rajasthan or Bihar or Madhya Pradesh or West Bengal, and then after 2 years if the elections are in that place he will re-vote in that place. So he is establishing government once in J&K and then in another 1 year or maybe 2 years in West Bengal or maybe in Bihar. So you are creating a bogus voter brigade who will move from one state to the another state just to influence the elections wherever the BJP is weak.
Sir, what is the basis of this assertion? That is how voters vote. If somebody is in a transferable job, for example, you vote wherever you go for ad nauseum. This has been happening. For example, if somebody works for Indian Oil Corporation, you can be going from Assam, you could be going to Odisha, you could be going to Rajasthan, and if you stay for about 6 months, you become a voter there. Now you will say कि government ट्रांसफरेबल जॉब्स में जो लोग हैं वो बोगस वोटर हैं, वो जाकर के कभी असम में इन्फ्लुएंस करते हैं, फिर राजस्थान में इन्फ्लुएंस करते हैं।
आपका कहने का मतलब है यहाँ जम्मू कश्मीर में 25 लाख एम्प्लॉइज हैं जो काम करते हैं, या आपको लगता है कि यहाँ पे इतनी कंपनीज हैं या गवर्नमेंट एम्प्लॉइज इतने सारे हैं जो 25 लाख लोग हैं जो जम्मू एंड कश्मीर में काम करते हैं? मतलब व्हाट इज द,
तो आप कह रहे हैं कि ये फेक वोटर बैंक बनाया गया है?
बिल्कुल, एब्सोल्युटली बनाया गया है।
ओके, कविंदर गुप्ता, ये आपने फेक वोट बैंक बनाया हुआ है। अभी मोहत भान कह रहे हैं कि 25 लाख तो जो ऐसे 6 महीने परमानेंट रेसिडेंट्स हैं, ऐसे हो ही नहीं सकते जो आपने 25 लाख जोड़ दिए। किधर से आए 25 लाख?
देखिए, ये गलत फिगर्स देकर के लोगों को गुमराह कर रहे हैं, नंबर 1। नंबर 2, मैं सिर्फ इनसे एक बात पूछना चाहता हूं, आपने रीसेटलमेंट बिल क्यों बनाया था जिसके कारण से पाकिस्तानियों को आप यहां फंसाना चाहते थे? ये इसका मतलब आप पाकिस्तान के रूल को यहां लाना चाहते हो। इंडिया में जो रूल है, संविधान ने हमें अधिकार दिया है अपने वोटिंग राइट का। तो वोटिंग राइट कोई भी व्यक्ति जो इस देश में रहता है, पहले ये सपने लेना करना बंद कर दें। नंबर एक की धारा 370 टूट चुकी है। धारा 370 जिसने यहाँ अलगाववाद, आतंकवाद, भ्रष्टाचार, परिवारवाद, ये सारी चीजें लाई। आज आप सपनों की दुनिया को छोड़ दो, जो वो हिंदुस्तान के रहने वाले हैं। हिंदुस्तान का कोई भी नागरिक, जम्मू कश्मीर कोई अलग प्रदेश नहीं है कि यहाँ पर आप इस प्रकार की चर्चा करोगे। जम्मू कश्मीर ऐसी स्टेट है, भारत के साथ जुड़ी है। एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत का जो नारा है, इन्होंने 70 साल वेस्ट पाकिस्तान रिफ्यूजीज को क्यों अधिकार नहीं दिए, वोटिंग राइट का क्यों नहीं दिया? वो अपने हिंदुस्तान के लोग नहीं थे। वो उनकी क्या गलती थी? 1947 में वो बॉर्डर पार करके यहां से पर आ गए। गोरखा समाज का क्या था कि राजा ने उनको लाया था? वाल्मीकि के बच्चे अगर पीएचडी भी कर जाता है, वो सफाई कर्मचारी की नौकरी करेगा, उसको वोटिंग राइट नहीं होगा। ये कौन से मापदंड है? ये कोई देश का कोई भी व्यक्ति कितनी भी बहस हो जाए, इस पर कोई आप एक्सेप्ट नहीं करता। ये आपकी दुकानदारी, जो आपकी पोलिटिकल दुकानदारी थी, वो बंद हो चुकी है। इस कारण से
figure is coming from, definitely there can be clarification, but to whip up a sort of fear and say that this is, you know, manipulation that is being done and people are being brought in. Today we even heard some people make the very laughable claim that tourists will be brought in from UP and Bihar and they will be made to cast a vote. इतनी देर में तो वोटर आईडी भी नहीं बनता है, that a tourist suddenly comes in on a shikara and starts casting a vote. That is laughable. But what is more worrying, Advocate Neelofar, is that we had a leader of your party today say कि अभी यूपी और बिहार से भैया लोग आकर के वोट करेंगे. This is like fanning xenophobia. यूपी और बिहार से लोग हर जगह जाकर के वोट करते हैं, जैसे कि जम्मू कश्मीर से लोग आकर के यूपी और बिहार में वोट करते हैं अगर वो वहां पर रेसिडेंट्स हैं फॉर अ सर्टेन अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम.
पदमजा, एक्चुअली 5 अगस्त 2019 को जब एब्रोगेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 370 हुआ, उसके बाद आपने पता है कि रिऑर्गेनाइजेशन एक्ट तो पहले ही था, जिसकी वजह से फिर कितनी चीजें हो गई, जैसे डिलिमिटेशन कमीशन बना. तो अगर आपको याद होगा, रिऑर्गेनाइजेशन एक्ट में ऑलरेडी मेंशन था कि जब डिलिमिटेशन हो जाएगा तो 7 सीटें बढ़ेंगी. ऑलरेडी द ब्लूप्रिंट वाज देयर. They had said that there will be increase of 7 seats without actually conducting the delimitation. और जब delimitation हो गई, what happened? यही 7 सीटें बढ़कर आ गई. And likewise, अभी registration of voters हुआ नहीं है. पहले से ही एक statement from a responsible person is coming that 25 lakh people are going to be registered by way of whatever the mode they have chosen. तो how come they know? ये जो प्रॉक्सी तरीके से चीजें की जाती, एक्चुअली आई फील टुडे बीजेपी हैज एक्चुअली accepted the defeat, that on ground they have nothing. People, they have failed the people. जो promises उन्होंने किए हुए थे empower लोगों को करने की, removal of unjust laws को, अब फिर उन unjust laws के जरिए वो चाहते हैं कि यहाँ पर proxy government बनाए to get all the migratory, even birds to cast vote in their favor. This is the reason कि उन्होंने इलेक्शन को डेफर किया यहाँ पर 25 नवंबर तक रजिस्ट्रेशन.
Also, why are you assuming कि ये जो additional 25 lakhs हैं, अभी प्रोसेस क्या थी वो हम कविंदर गुप्ता से पूछेंगे, but why is everyone assuming कि ये जो 24 लाख ऐड किए गए वो सारे बीजेपी को ही वोट करेंगे? हो सकता है आपको मिल जाए इनमें से 23 लाख वोट.
देखिए जो भी आज तक हो रहा है आफ्टर एब्रोगेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल, हर कोई एक्ट या हर कोई एनेक्टमेंट जो आ रही है, हर कोई स्टेटमेंट जो आ रही है, इन ईच एंड एवरी वी हैव सीन दैट दे आर एक्चुअली डिसएम्पावरिंग द पीपल. उनको हर एक कोशिश की जाती है कि उनको किस तरीके से डिसएम्पावर किया जाए.
It is empowering 24 lakh people.
आप मुझे बताइए,
vote in Jammu and Kashmir where they live.
पदमजा, let me complete.
This is empowering the people जो कि कश्मीर में है, but अभी तक वोट नहीं कर पाते थे, अब वो वोट करेंगे.
These decisions actually contravene the very idea of the political system.
How?
You contravene कर रही है उनको. A nationalist person feels with these unconsented decisions, the people of J&K are not brought into the national mainstream, but are further alienated.
Ma'am, election commission takes a decision on behalf of the entire country. कोई J&K का अलग consent थोड़ा ना लेना होता है.
अलग कंट्री का नहीं है, तो बीजेपी सेंटर में दिस इज व्हाट दे आर डूइंग. वी हैव सीन इट. वी आर बीइंग विक्टिमाइज्ड ऑन ईच एंड एवरी फ्रंट. ऑन ईच एंड एवरी फ्रंट नोबडी इज गोइंग टू लिसन.
कोई कंसल्टेशन नहीं किया गया, कोई क्लैरिटी नहीं दी गई, अचानक बोल दिया गया कि भाई 25 लाख लोग बढ़ गए हैं. कहां से आए 25 लाख लोग, किससे पूछ के लाए गए, कहां से आए, कहां काम करते हैं, कोई क्लैरिटी नहीं है. कविंदर गुप्ता जी,
देखिए, नंबर एक, मैंने पहले ही कहा, इन लोगों को जिन्होंने एक माहौल बनाया था कि जम्मू कश्मीर एक अलग स्टेट है, जम्मू कश्मीर एक अलग स्टेट है, जम्मू कश्मीर भारत का अभिन्न अंग है, और इन लोगों ने जो माहौल बनाया था उसके कारण से यहाँ इन्होंने आतंकवाद, परिवारवाद, राष्ट्रवाद, दुकानदारी, ये जो इन्होंने इस प्रकार का माहौल बना करके 30 साल की मिलिटेंसी इन लोगों के कारण रही। एक जो ये सवाल का मेरा जवाब क्यों नहीं देते हैं कि आपने रीसेटलमेंट बिल बना करके पाकिस्तानियों को आप यहाँ ला रहे थे। ये तो हिंदुस्तान के लोग हैं, हिंदुस्तान में रहने वाले लोग हैं, इनके पास रिकॉर्ड है, इनके पास रिकॉर्ड है कि कितने लोग यहाँ पर आकर के बसे होंगे, जो लोग यहाँ पर आए हैं काम करने के लिए आए हैं। तो इनको एक दहशत का माहौल, और अगर इन्होंने कुछ अच्छा जनता के लिए किया होता तो लोग इनको वोट देते। आपने सही बात कही है कि लोग, जब कोई भी व्यक्ति अपने वोट का वोट का मतदान करता है, वो ये नहीं देखता है विचारधारा देख करके वोट करता है, उसका काम देख करके वोट करता है। इन लोगों ने आज जनता को जिस प्रकार से गुमराह किया है, कश्मीर के नौजवानों को कितने लोगों को बर्बाद करके कितने लोगों को तबाह कर दिया। आज भी ये पाकिस्तान से बात करने की वकालत करते हैं। पाकिस्तान के नागरिक नहीं है हम हिंदुस्तान के नागरिक हैं। पाकिस्तान को जिस प्रकार से भाषा में समझ आता है उसी भाषा में समझाना चाहिए। जब आप ये पाकिस्तान प्रस्ती ये जहन से निकाल दोगे तो आपको ये समझ आएगा कि जो लोग आप उनको जिनको मजाक उड़ाते हो भाई ये यूपी बिहार, ऐसा नहीं है। वो लोग हमारे यहाँ पर आकर के काम करते हैं, और आपके लोग आपके
जम्मू एंड कश्मीर
वो अपना बलिदान देकर पे यहाँ पर काम करते हैं।
देखिए, मैं really I am surprised, how Mr. Gupta is reacting to it. What I am asking him is a simple question, that where did these 25 lakh people erupt all of a sudden? And the Election Commission of India already has this data, and nobody else could digest this. He is saying that hum abhi hissa hai Hindustan ka. Who is denying that we are not the part of India? Who is denying that West Pakistani refugees should not be given the vote to write? Who is defining that जो laborers यहाँ पे पिछले 15 साल से या 20 साल से रह रहे हैं, आप उनको as per जो reorganization आप उनको वोट डालने दीजिए? वाई आर आप मिस्टर गुप्ता, वाई आर यू कमिंग टू द पॉइंट? आप तो अलग ही जगह पे इसको लेकर जा रहे हैं। मैंने कब आपको बोला कि भाई जम्मू कश्मीर हिंदुस्तान का हिस्सा नहीं है? मैं आपको बोल रहा हूँ, ये 25 लाख लोग जो एक रात में इलेक्शन कमिश्नर ने निकाले, ये 25 लाख लोग जम्मू कश्मीर में आए कहां से? ना यहाँ पे इतनी फैक्ट्रीज लगी, ना यहाँ इतनी कंपनीज आई, ना यहाँ इतने कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स आए, ना यहाँ कोई ऐसा एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन हुआ। ये 25 लाख लोग अचानक आ कहां से गए? हम इसलिए बोल रहे हैं कि ये लोग, सर मिलिटेंसी कहां से आ गई इसमें मिलिटेंसी का क्या लेना देना है? 25 लाख लोगों की बात हो रही है, इसमें मिलिटेंसी और नॉर्मलसी का कोई लेना देना नहीं।
That is a fair point. Election Commission should give more data on this, but to fearmonger on this and say that this is being planted or this is being manipulated or this is only a group of people who are being brought in to vote for the BJP, that seems far-fetched, or worse, fear-mongering. Thanks very much, all gentlemen, and Advocate Neelafar for joining me. Thanks for watching.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.
Standing here promising you tens and tens of billions of pounds of goodies straight away, because I don't think that's the right thing to do for our economy. But I want to be honest with you. I want to be straight with the country about the challenges we face and what is going to be required to fix them. And that's why I think you can trust me on this, because I'm prepared to do that, even though it's going to cost me politically.
The News Hour at 10. We'll be right back after the break. The News Hour at 10.